It's that day. Yes, it is. Hey, all gravity. Any day above ground, live it. Hope you're having a fantastic start to your Thursday, aka Juneteenth. So, for all the Black Americans in the chat, happy Juneteenth. For those who celebrated, happy Juneteenth. By the way, your ribs are still not better than mine. But that's not what we're here for today. That's not what we're here for today. Today, we are here for the 3T. Tucker Ted Thursday. Yes, it is Tucker Ted Thursday. Shout out to Donnie the Misfit for reminding me to do this beautiful piece of content. We could have done it on StreamYard. We could have. But I want the MAGA shills in here because for some reason, when I do it on StreamYard, the MAGA shills don't show up. I need the MAGA shills in here. I need y'all to explain this. Because it was just all cool about 2 years ago when both of these men were more or less picking up after Trump. Now they're fighting each other for Trump's approval, and we love it. So, for those who don't know, Tucker talked with Ted Cruz, and he put up a clip, I want to say Tuesday, of their interaction, and Ted Cruz got mad because he made it seem like it was a gotcha, and he said when the full thing drops, you will understand that a lot of the things I was saying made sense, and usually that's a lie, but anyway, we'll let him have it. I haven't watched this, but from what I'm hearing, Ted Cruz and Tucker were both going at each other to find out who the biggest fool is. The MAGA infighting, the quote-unquote conservative infighting is a beautiful thing. And shout out to the real conservatives, because they're actually calling stuff like this out. Take your ideology back. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this in its entirety. Yes, we are. So we're going to give you the opportunity because it's Juneteenth. If you don't want to stay here for the whole thing, I mean, that's fine. There's other things to do. It's 24 hours today. You can do whatever you want. But I want to give everyone full context and full breakdowns and full reactions to what you're about to hear. Tucker Carlson versus Ted Cruz. Let's begin.
Much for spending the time to have this conversation. It's good to be with you. So you come out for regime change in Iran as distinct just from taking up the nuclear sites. What does regime change look like in Iran? Somebody else in charge.
By the way, we're not even 15 seconds in, and Ted Cruz is already wanting to do another Mohammed Mogaddesh. Again, I probably said his name wrong. For those who don't know, the CIA helped overthrow Mohammed back in 1953 and put in the Shah so they could keep oil. Oh, you got plenty of time to go get popcorn. Popcorn take number 3 minutes. So, yeah, we're already starting. Ted Cruz just admitted in this clip that America overthrows regimes, even though we knew that. But go ahead.
How do you get there? Look, that ultimately has to be a popular uprising for the people. And it's not a complicated question. Is America better off with a country that has a leader who hates us and wants to kill us? Or to have a country with a leader who likes us and wants to be friends with us? And definitely the latter's better, of course. Yeah. And so that's not a complicated statement.
He forgot about C, having somebody there that is a puppet.
Look, I believe you look across the world when you have countries that have dictators that are viciously anti.
Fair use.
Venezuela, Maduro hates us. Would we be better off with Maduro out of power? Absolutely. I want our enemies out of power and I want our friends in power.
Our friends. Okay, Ted, since you want your enemies out of power, why don't you go after Xi Jinping? Let me see you pull that off. Go get Putin. Let me see you pull that off. Go overthrow Castro down there in Cuba. Go get Andrew Holness in Jamaica, because y'all not really friends right now. The United States got enemies all over the world. Go overthrow them and see how popular that is on the world stage. Go ahead. This is going to be fun.
I could not agree more. The question's how you get there.
Of course.
We've been trying to kill Maduro for quite some time. We have troops there.
I don't know that we've been trying to kill Maduro.
Yeah, we have.
No.
And I think we have. And
Okay, I don't know that.
Okay, well, that's a statement of fact we have. So we
Wait a minute. So either Tucker's lying or Ted Cruz is lying to save Congress. I'll let y'all decide.
At massive sanctions, we tried to pressure him out of office.
Yeah,
I'm
there's all
not,
kinds
not
of
aware
stuff.
of that.
I'm just saying there's a lot of pressure coming from various parts of the U.S. government on that government that's still there.
Yes.
Same the country of our ancestors, Cuba. 1959. We've been working on that. Hasn't worked. So it's I think both agree it's hard to do.
It absolutely is hard. And look, I think you're reasonable to ask, how do we produce that? And I think there's a distinction between what your objective is and the means to get it. There are all sorts of things I would say we would be better off. We'd be better off in China without Xi there. Should we invade China and topple Xi? Of course not.
We're better off with no national debt.
There are lots of things. But it's good to say, all right.
Tucker, you're a fool. I want y'all to hear what he just said.
Better off. We'd be better off in China without Xi there. Should we invade China and topple Xi? Of course not.
We're better off with no national debt.
Wrong. This is what I mean. No research. This guy claims to be a journalist, even though he is an heir to $1 billion plus fortune. Tucker, I understand leaving Fox News, you lost the room that does the research. Why would you have gone on this platform that you supposedly own and lie like that? Even if we got rid of Xi and somehow, some way, China agreed not to call in the debt, they just wiped it clean, you still realize we would still have debt on the books because Japan holds most of our debt. Damn. But again, they're not gonna tell you that. It's China bad. Trump is sitting there taking money from Japan for the tech sector, putting us more in debt. Nasty work. But again, there's plenty of people out there that respect Tucker for what he does, talking about how he's smart. Doesn't even know basic geopolitics. You can literally Google that or DuckDuckGo that in 5 seconds. But okay.
There are lots of things. But it's good to say, all right, what are our objectives? Right. So with the Ayatollah in Iran, saying you're for regime change, I don't view as complicated. I mean, the guy literally leads mobs chanting death to America. So that's not good.
Definitely not good.
Yet MAGA was sitting there on January 6th, literally going after congressmen and senators. But that was okay. Okay.
But the reason I think it's important to get a little more detailed about how that might
Go more into the room.
There's military action in progress, which we're supporting. And the president has said clearly, including last night, that he's focused on eliminating the capacity of the Iranian government to produce nuclear weapons. You are saying we need to use military force to effect regime change.
I have not said that.
Oh, I must have.
No, I have not said that once. I don't think we need to use military force to do regime change. I said I support it. I would like.
So you think you're going to will the people in a foreign land that does not have the values over here to topple a government? Oh, no. You said no military. You gonna pull the CIA and the FBI to go do it. That's right. And the NSA. I forgot about the NSA. I forgot. I forgot y'all had civilian mercenaries. I forgot about that. And federal mercenaries. I forgot about those. Yeah. And you also have plants around the world in these governments that you can just activate. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Go ahead.
Like to see it happen. You asked me how should it happen? A popular uprising. So what I've advocated for. All right, let's step back a second. You and I, we've known each other a long time. I would say we agree on about 80% of the things on Earth.
For sure.
And there are a lot of things, and we can get into the nitty-gritty of foreign policy as much as you want. There are a lot of things on which you and I agree, not just a little bit, but violently.
I totally agree. I was rooting for you in your last campaign, for sure.
Well, thank you. Look, you have been heroic on the border. You've been one of the clearest and best voices in the whole country on securing the border and of the absolute crisis we're facing. And
Yeah, and how'd that work out with Fox News? How'd that work out? Okay.
in Texas, I see it and live it every day. In COVID, in fact, you may recall, in the middle of the COVID lockdown, I was out walking my dog when the whole world was shut down and we were living in lunatic times. And I called you and said, Tucker, your nightly monologues are the single best thing on television. Like I watch them like an injection of crack. Okay, I'm mixing my...
Oh, Jesus Christ. There you go. An injection of crack. And you still want to tell me that they weren't for the war on drugs and the one that they're still doing today. An injection of crack. You went in front of a journalist and said that, knowing that he was going to broadcast this to millions of people. You said this. By the way, remember how I said yesterday that when Tucker talked to Putin, he did about 200 million views? I understand this just came out yesterday. How's it only sitting at 6.4? But they want to tell us that Tucker is an important voice. Okay.
My metaphor is you don't inject crack, but you get what I'm saying. No, I mean, you were standing up and speaking like, what the hell are we doing, in a way that we desperately needed. And so whether it's securing the border, whether it's the insanity of COVID lockdowns and vaccine mandates, whether it is the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, you and I agree on a ton of stuff. The 20% where we disagree, I do think is meaningful. And it's mostly in the foreign policy space. And what I would say, if you'll allow me to get a little theoretical, and then I'm happy to get specific.
Yeah.
For a long time, people have perceived two different poles of Republican foreign policy. There have been interventionists, and those have been people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, George W. Bush, and there have been isolationists. And the most prominent of those have been Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and there are others. And people perceive those are the two choices. You got to be one or the other. I've always thought both were wrong. I don't agree with either one.
So you don't agree with people saying don't go to war, leave these people alone, let them destroy themselves. And you also don't believe in people who say we need to go invade. Okay. But in that case, you sound like... Let me hear what Ted feels. I want to hear how he feels.
The way I view my own foreign policy...
I'm with you, by the way, for whatever it's worth. I agree with you.
Okay, good.
I don't know who set up that binary, but there are lots of choices, actually.
I mean, people sort of
Great, Tucker. Tell us later what these choices are.
naturally fall into, I think they want to classify people, and they're like, okay, you're one or the other, and you got to be all or nothing. And the interventionists, it seems, have never seen a country they didn't want to invade, and that doesn't make any sense to me. And the isolationists, I think, don't take the threats to America seriously, and I think that's naive, and it doesn't work.
No, the isolationists want us not to constantly go fuck with people. I understand we need resources, but you can leave people alone. And by the way, y'all don't do it on behalf of the government. You use big corporations to go do it. That's another thing they don't like telling y'all about. When there's some resources, they send their corporation friends over there and tell them to go get that. Then if they can't get it, then they say, oh, the leader is bad. We got to go get him out the paint. It's usually how it works. But, this is why I always say corporations are bigger than the government. But, nobody won't listen. All right.
And so my view, I consider myself a third point on the triangle.
What is that?
And what I describe that as is that I am a non-interventionist hawk, which sounds a little weird, but what do I mean by that?
What?
I mean the central touch point for U.S. foreign policy and for any question of military intervention should be the vital national security interest of the United States.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So you sound like an isolationist, sir. Jesus Christ. He literally just described himself as an isolationist. This is Chris, exactly. Who do you mean saying the opposite of Republicans? You haven't even been here yet. I haven't even. If you're talking about me, I haven't even said anything racist yet. Just stick around. I'll say something racist by the time this is over. Go ahead.
How does this make America safer? How does this protect Americans? If it does, we should be strong. And actually, another way of conceiving what I'm saying, I'm speaking theoretically, but Reagan referred to it as peace through strength. And actually, I think Donald Trump's foreign policy is very much what I'm describing, a non-interventionist hawk, where...
How'd that work when he bombed Yemen? How'd that work? How'd that work with Sudan? I'm sorry, not Sudan, Somalia. Why did he bomb Somalia? They weren't bothering us. How does that work? How's that non-interventionist hawk? Okay.
He understands, that, and I think this is historically true, the best way to avoid war is being strong. That weakness and isolationism, I think, encourages war.
What?
So, going back to regime change, where you started in Iran.
Oh, Lord.
Just to make, I don't think I disagree with anything you've said, so we may not be that far apart, really, because you said that the single criterion for making decisions about America's foreign policy is America's national interest.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Which is also America first. That's another way of putting that as well.
So if you need resources in somebody, you're going to go to war with them, right? That's what war is. Resources. Y'all love saying this about changing regimes. We literally went to Iraq and Afghanistan for oil. Not because Saddam tried to take out Bush's daddy. And he allegedly did 9/11. Or he funded it. You did it for oil. Because you wanted to prop up the Carlyle Group and Halliburton and your buddies and get the military industrial complex an infusion of cash. I'd rather y'all just say that.
What's the definition of it? It's hardly breaking news.
Okay, I don't care about your ads. How about that? We don't care. Where are y'all at? We'll start here.
Or today. The question is, are we watching that now?
So I think we are. And from what you've said publicly, I think on Iran in particular, you and I disagree. And all right, let me contrast it when Obama was president. When Obama was president, you remember he talked about wanting to have military action against Syria. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I tried to keep an open mind to it. I said, okay, let me listen to the commander-in-chief, describe to me how this is in America's interest, and what your plan is. And Bashar Assad was a bad guy. He was killing his own citizens, and he had chemical weapons that were very dangerous. I could conceive of a commander-in-chief laying out a plan for, okay, we're going to go in and say, grab the chemical weapons and leave. Like, I could see that if there was a real threat to America and there was a plan to prevent that, I could see supporting that. So I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I listened both in classified briefings and public questioning. And number one, their public defense of it was incoherent. So John Kerry said, we're going to engage in an unbelievably small strike. I think that's a quote. I'm like, okay, and to do what? At the time, there were 9 major rebel Islamic groups in Syria. I'm like, okay, I agree, Bashar Assad's a bad guy. You topple him. And one of the 9 other groups takes over. 7 of them were affiliated with radical Islamic terrorism. You had Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra. I'm like, wait, how is it better to have lunatics who hate us in charge? Assad's a bad guy, but I don't want worse guys in charge. Obama
Did you see that?
Assad's a bad guy, but I don't better.
Did you see that?
To have lunatics who hate us in charge. Assad's a bad guy.
You see that? Who put this caption here? Boy. Tucker, you're not beating these. You a Russia propagandist. You're not beating these charges. You Russian pro-propaganda. You're not beating these charges. Who did this? And they need to be fired.
but I don't want worse guys in charge. Obama administration couldn't give an answer to that. And ultimately, when you press them, John Kerry in particular, I pressed him, he would say, well, we need to defend international norms. What the hell's an international norm? I don't know what it is, but I'm not interested in putting U.S. servicemen and women in harm's way to defend one.
Amen.
So I opposed the Syria attack and opposed it vocally. And it was interesting. Rand and I agreed. Rand's a friend of mine. But we agreed with that position for different reasons. What I was asking is I think the question we should ask, how does this make America safer? The Obama administration couldn't give me an answer, so I opposed it. I think Iran is very different.
Let me ask what you think of how Syria wound up, because Bashar al-Assad now lives in Moscow.
Yeah.
He was taken out by our allies, and he's been replaced by a radical Islamist who was affiliated with ISIS. So is that a win or no?
Unclear. And look, Syria's a mess, so I've consistently opposed.
But we had a second.
Oh, God. So why did you go mess with it? That's what I'm still trying to figure that out. Assad was bad. Great. You took him out of power and somebody else went in that was worse. Likewise, what they have with that Al-Qaeda zone in Africa. They warned y'all. Somebody gonna come behind Bin Laden that's going to be worse. And the JNIM are right now proving y'all right. Even y'all will admit that regime changes don't always work out for the better. But y'all still want to mess with the Middle East.
Popular leader in a religious and ethnically diverse country. Now we have a religious extremist, Islamic religious extremist, who's overseeing the purge of Christians and Alawites. Is that better? It doesn't seem
Well,
like
look,
a win.
one of the things you said is he was taken out by our allies. I don't think that's right. Israel didn't take Assad out. What happened, and I'll tell you,
What about Turkey?
Turkey didn't take him out. So it was interesting. I had a long.
How did Assad get kicked out?
Yeah. When Netanyahu was in D.C. a couple of months ago, he and I sat down for a couple of hours. He's a good friend of mine, and
I'm sure.
we talked actually about Syria. He made an interesting point that I've not heard anywhere else, in that he said he believes what toppled Assad was when Israel took out Nasrallah. Nasrallah was the head of Hezbollah. They took him out. And he made an interesting point. He said it's fascinating how a charismatic leader, and Bibi said, look, Nasrallah was a very effective terrorist leader. And when they took him out, that power base was supporting Assad. And that ultimately, in Bibi's analysis, removed the support from Assad and toppled him. But they weren't trying to take out Assad. My view now, I don't know.
So you don't think that, and it is very confusing, and I don't know that anyone really knows all the details, but you don't think that Israel or Turkey or NATO ally Turkey played any role in toppling Assad?
I don't know. I don't know that they did. Look.
So he just told you he a floor manager. He an assistant floor manager. And he don't know what's going on. Thanks, Ted Cruz. You just told us live and direct that you don't know what the hell going on. I don't even know why you talk. Fam, why are these people going to go talk about situations they have no knowledge on? By the way, screenshot. Because that's a wild face to make. Shout out to Ice Storm. That's his new name. Ice Storm. Ice Storm Bahama. If you know, you know. Ice Storm Bahama is wild. Yes?
You want anything from your house?
Do they got turkey bacon?
Yeah. Chicken sausage.
Here's the menu. I'll look at it while this is playing.
Look, my understanding of that, they clearly took out Nasrallah and Hezbollah. They decimated Hezbollah, but Hezbollah was waging war on them. So decimating Hezbollah was very good for Israel and very good for America, too. I mean, Hezbollah hated us. I would put Assad in the category of an unintended consequence, and whether it's good or bad...
What?
I don't know. I think time will tell.
For the United States.
He just called Assad an unintended consequence. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, for the United States. I think time will tell the new leadership there. You're right to be concerned. Let me step back.
What's up,
Let's talk
Donnie?
regime change generally. I mentioned Syria. I also opposed the Iraq War. I think the Iraq War was a serious mistake. And we have a pattern, and going back to this binary of the interventionist and the isolationist. The interventionists advocate over and over again. There's a bad guy. There's a dictator who's doing bad things to his people. And they say, let's go topple him. And you have dictators in the Middle East who are killing radical Islamic terrorists. We come in and topple them. The radical Islamic terrorists take over and they start killing Americans. In my view, how the heck does that help us? Like, Saddam Hussein was a horrible human being. He murdered and tortured people. Unequivocally bad guy. Mm-hmm. But it got much worse after we toppled him. And you ended up having ISIS rise up. I mean, that...
So why did you mess with him? Why did you go in there and delete him? Why did you do that? Why did you just put him on trial? Damn it.
Was the cause of ISIS was toppling Saddam Hussein. Same thing in Libya. You had Gaddafi, another horrible guy. That under Obama, we toppled him. And you ended up having radical Islamic warlords taking over. And so it's the question I asked in Syria. Okay, well, what's the plan? And how is this good or bad for the United States? And so I don't think with Iran, I view Iran as very different from Iraq.
But up to that point, you say we disagree. I don't hear really anything. I'm not quite sure what happened in Syria, but I don't know. So, right. But other than that, I don't hear anything. I disagree at all.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're in a complete agreement. I wonder, though, is there a successful regime change?
Donnie, his name is not Ted Cruz. It's Ice Storm Bahama.
That the United States supported, that you're aware of in the last 100 years?
Sure. Defeating the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union collapsed and winning the Cold War. That was the most consequential step for U.S. national security interests of our lifetimes.
And so you classify that as a regime change that we affected?
Absolutely. And look, you and I are in my office. We're sitting next to a painting of Reagan in front of the Brandenburg Gate. And up top are the words, tear down this wall, in German, in the style of the cathedral.
Right.
And I think those are the most important words any leader has said in modern times. And if you look at how Reagan waged the Cold War, and Reagan is very much my model for how to... I actually think how Reagan took on the Soviet Union is exactly how we should take on China. Now, starting from the point, look, Reagan was not an interventionist. In 8 years, the biggest country Reagan ever invaded was Grenada. He was very reluctant to use U.S. military force.
He didn't respond after the 83 Paris bombing.
You're right. He made the judgment that the risk exceeded the benefits. And that's a very rational decision to make. And it's reflected. Trump has made those same decisions where he is willing to use military force, but he very much asks, okay, is this good or bad for America? Does this endanger U.S. servicemen and women or not? And one of the points about the Cold War, look, nobody in their right mind wanted a shooting war between America and the Soviet Union. Two biggest nuclear powers on Earth firing bullets at each other is really unhealthy for human beings.
What?
China. Nobody with any sense says, hey, let's go to war with China. That's really dumb, and a whole lot of people could die. But the Cold War showed we've got lots of tools.
He lied again because they were calling for that. He lied again.
Short of sending the Marines to fight against a regime. And one of the most important tools is the bully pulpit. And so when I say I support regime change, I actually think just simply laying out what the Ayatollah does. And so I spend a lot of time, I speak to Iranian dissident groups, I speak out against human rights abuses. I think shining a light on the depravity of leaders is a really powerful tool that America has.
Should we limit our activity to that?
It depends. Again,
the U.S. government pays opposition groups, militarized opposition groups in Iran to overthrow the government. We've done a lot of different cases, as you know. I'm not.
By the way, that person that wrote that Obama and Biden gave Iran money, that's true. So did Trump. Did we forget about that waiver for the oil that gave them $6 billion? He let it pass. Did we forget about that? All right. We forgot about that. Just both sides give our enemies money.
Saying it's bad, but that's very different from what you're describing. You're saying we're making a moral case. It's been for 7 years with the Soviets. Our system works. Yours doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think we made a credible case for that. And we beat them over 70 years economically.
And that was a huge part of it.
Right. I think everyone agreed that was the main part of it. We didn't beat them in Vietnam. North Korea.
The main part of it was tied to a military buildup. So I think it was two things.
Mm-hmm.
It was one, the clarity. So Reagan came and he described the Soviet Union as an evil empire.
Right.
And all of the intelligentsia in D.C., all the Democrats, all the media, they're like, what a horrible thing to say. You can't say that. Reagan went to the United Kingdom and he said, Marxism, Leninism will end up on the ash heap of history. People were horrified. They asked him, all right, what's your strategy in the Cold War? He said, very simple, we win, they lose. And it was all viewed as sort of a Philistine simplicity. And I think it was exactly right. And laying that out, speaking, do you know the backstory behind the Berlin Wall speech?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You probably know Peter Robinson,
Of course.
speechwriter.
Yes.
So 3 times the State Department deleted those words from that speech. And 3 times Reagan wrote it back. And the State Department argued, they said, Mr. President, you can't say this. This is too bellicose, this is too provocative. And my favorite, they said, this is too unrealistic. The Berlin Wall will stand to the end of time. And Reagan said, look, this is...
David, you can literally go look up Trump in the waiver that gave Iran $6 billion. Literally go look it up. Now, maybe he didn't realize that was going to happen, but it was under his watch.
Point of the speech. And less than 3 years after Reagan gave that speech, the Berlin Wall was torn to the ground. And it wasn't knocked down by American Army tanks. We didn't shoot missiles at it. It was shining truth and light that tore it down. It was also rebuilding the American military. It was what was then pejoratively called Star Wars, where the Soviet Union, their economy couldn't match our military buildup, and it bankrupted. That's an example of peace through strength.
I wonder, I mean, is there anybody who's alive in 1989 who would trade that America for the one we live in now? There's not one person, I don't think.
Oh, sure.
But, I mean, just the basic metrics, debt, suicide rate, life expectancy. It was, I wonder why, after that victory, America didn't thrive in the way that we thought that it would, that I thought that it would. My family was involved in that. I mean, we were very focused on it in my house. Like,
Yeah.
we won. And I wonder 2 things. Why didn't the United States kind of declare victory and make some sort of arrangement with Russia that allowed like mutual prosperity rather than continuing a Cold War? And second, I wonder why the United States didn't get a lot better. Like, why did we have better infrastructure? Why did we have fewer homeless? Why we had all these drugs? Like, if we won, why does our country look like this? I walked across from Union Station this morning, as you do, I'm sure, every day. And all those people lying in the streets, sleeping outside. It's like, what is that?
We're sorry to say it, but this is not a very safe country. Walk through Oakland or Philadelphia. Yeah, good luck. So most people, they think about this, want to carry a firearm, and a lot of us do. The problem is...
I don't care about it. So, for those who said I'm lying, 'cause apparently they can't read, I'll back this up a little bit. I don't know if that's going to help. The frozen $6 billion, however, the frozen $6 billion had originated in a decision made by Donald Trump during his time in the White House. In 2018, Trump granted 8 countries, including South Korea, a waiver that allowed them to continue purchasing oil from Iran, even after the U.S. imposed sanctions on the Gulf nation after Trump abandoned the Iran nuclear deal, as he took a much tougher line against Tehran than predecessor Barack Obama. He signed that. Yeah. Maybe y'all forgot. It's okay. Just because he didn't physically give them cash doesn't mean that they didn't make money. But, okay. I don't care about your ads, Tucker. All right, let's get to the show.
Are really dangerous forces in our society. Some of it is politics and some of it is culture. And one of the mistakes people make in politics is thinking everything is politics. So the political answer, which I happen to believe, is we went much further down the road of liberalism. You look at Bill Clinton, who inherited the dividend of the Cold War being over, and
Or
more
ill-informed.
to the left, and then Obama accelerated it a lot. So there are lots of
I agree.
bad economic policies, but I also think they're cultural things. You know, the loss of
I
faith,
agree with
the loss
all of that.
family.
I know what you're going to say, and I agree 100%.
This is the 5th time Tucker said I agree with everything. Let's get to the show.
I bet there's not one word that I would disagree with. All I'm saying is, I think it's important to step back and ask.
But I actually think Russia has very little to do with it. So
Well, that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make, which is, like, we're all sort of focused on beating our adversaries abroad, but what is victory worth if our own country becomes what it is now? And maybe we're spending a little too much time focused abroad, and not enough time focused on the people sleeping outside Union Station.
So, look, I absolutely think we need to focus at home, emphatically, and we need to focus on prosperity. We need to focus on reducing the debt, reducing spending, empowering people, low taxes, small businesses, American free enterprise. It's the most...
Remember what I said, what was it, last week or the week before? I said this on X, and shout out to Brother Torian, because we had a little back and forth about that. They don't give a shit about small businesses. Remember how MAGA in the first administration, they were always promoting each other's small business and everything? They were like, oh, this is a patriot. You got to go over there and make sure we get them all the business that we can so we can get away from these corporations that are beholden to the Democrats and all this. They're not doing that now. Now you have a sitting Republican senator saying that we need to go focus on small businesses. So what are y'all doing there? I actually have to agree with Tucker on that. We should be focusing on home. And y'all keep saying America first. America first does not mean go screw with people abroad. You have to focus on what you have here first, maximize it, then go outside and see how you can enhance it. But they don't care because they're getting all that foreign money. They're beholden to these lobbyists and special interest groups, and they need to make sure if they do get booted out of Congress that the flow of money doesn't stop or they get scandalized. Sir, I'm sure your state of Texas, there's a lot of small businesses down there that could use your voice. Nah, let's just worry about the Muslim city that they want to build there. Let's worry about that. Houston still floods badly. Let's not focus on that. We got to focus on Iran. The $400 billion that Trump sent over to the Middle East, you don't think Texas could have used that to build up some infrastructure? I'm just saying.
Most powerful force for fighting poverty the world has ever seen. I'm 1,000% there. I also recognize it is a dangerous world, and part of the responsibility of leaders, part of President Trump's responsibility, is to keep America safe. Let's go back to where we started.
But can I ask, you've been in the district a long time in D.C., so have I. And the city's way more dangerous, and Congress runs this
No,
stuff.
it's a complete crap hole.
So I'm saying, like, no Iranian's ever going to kill me. I think
They just admitted it again. We got to worry about Iran. DC is deteriorating. Yeah, we're not going to focus on that. Nah. Mm-mm. We're not going to modernize DC. Nah. We're not going to make sure Anacostia and all these other Sophies, we're not going to make sure they're safe. Nah. At least that way we could probably have some senators and representatives and their workers actually live in D.C. We could bring some more of that taxable income into the city so we could generate more. Nah. We got to worry about Tehran.
carjacked here.
Well,
I just don't understand how the Congress could run this city and focus on the dangers of Iran when the city is like garbage. It's garbage.
But Congress,
All my DC people, I know you pissed off, but, you know, Tucker don't care.
doesn't run the city. We could.
Congress does run the city. It's in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution, but they
Oh, Jesus Christ, he doesn't even know the Constitution. Dottie just fell out of her chair watching her chickens. I know she did. Don't wake Jeff up, please. Don't wake that man up. I know he up, I'm just saying. You might think you fell. You don't even know the Constitution. This is beautiful. Keep going. Look at Tucker. Look at old Tuck.
give it home rule so the Democrats can vote.
You can go to Congress.
I'd vote for it, but it's a question of math.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, why? How can people ignore? It's like if my own kids are drug addicts, but I'm focused on my neighbor's kids. It's like I'm neglecting my own kids, and there's a sense in which the Congress is neglecting the country that elected them in favor of this relentless focus on other people's problems. That's the way it feels. As
Facts.
Look, there are lots of problems in America that we need to fix. Why is D.C. a pit? Because you have a mayor and Democrat city council.
There we go. There we go. Now here we go. We're going to start blaming Democrats. Sir, by virtue of the Constitution, you Republicans and Democrats are responsible for D.C. You Democrats and Republicans are responsible for New York City. You Republicans and Democrats are responsible for Chicago, LA, Phoenix, Kansas City, St. Louis, Seattle, Atlanta, Miami, Orlando, West Palm Beach, Charleston, South Carolina, Charlotte, Philly, Pittsburgh, Boston, Montpelier, Vermont. You're responsible for Owsley County, Kentucky. I don't want to hear about no Democrat-run cities. I don't want to hear none of that crap. Because a lot of these Democrat-run cities that are in the toilet are in Republican-led states. I don't want to hear it. Y'all don't care.
That won't let police officers arrest bad guys. And in every city you see across the country, whether it's New York, whether it's Chicago, whether it's LA, whether it's San Francisco, if you have Democrats, we see the LA riots, where they won't let people be arrested.
Oh, Jesus Christ. People literally got arrested on film, but he gonna say they won't let people get arrested. Jesus Christ. We've literally saw videos of people getting arrested. But okay. All right.
Working regime change here. I want to use the bully pulpit.
Oh, Tucker. Look at Tucker.
Then why not work in regime change here? I want to use the bully pulpit.
What do you think I do every day?
I've never seen a Republican senator stand up and say, I just walked to work this morning over people dying of drug abuse. We're going to shut this place down unless they fix it. They're mad about Putin. Like, what did Putin do to Washington? Nothing.
Look, in terms of regime change, let's talk this week.
What did Putin do to Washington? He punked the president. That's what he did.
Riots in LA, I've made very clear that the cause of those riots are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass. And when you elect
how were they the cause of the LA quote-unquote riots? How did they do that? And I ain't fucking with both of them, but we're just trying to understand the story yet. What did those two do? Somebody tell me.
communists who hate America, who stop law enforcement from arresting criminals, you get what you get on the street.
Amen, I agree.
My in-laws are Californians, and they're one.
Did you just say Democrats don't understand leverage? How the hell did they win 2020? I want you to answer that for us.
Wonderful people. Heidi grew up on the Central Coast of California. I remember I was texting with my mother-in-law, and I think I sent her a video of criminals going to a store and just looting in California. And her response, she said something like, well, this is really terrible. I wish we could. It's a shame we can't do anything about this. So yes, you can. Go in and arrest them. Throw their butts in jail. Put them in handcuffs. 100%. And it stops.
Exactly.
And so we know how to fix the...
Oh, great. You said the Democrats made a deal with China to bring the pandemic over. Good. So what we're going to do for you, we want you to go show us where we can get that information, because I'm sure that's public knowledge. So it should be very easy and very quick for you to go pull it up. Go prove it with cited sources. And don't bring me Dinesh D'Souza, because he already had to go pay money. Go get me the source where it said that they have definitive proof that the Democrats hired China to screw with the 2020 election. Go ahead.
These things, and DC is I think DC voted, if I remember right, 92% Democrat. Democrat policies don't work, and they destroy every community that they are in charge of.
Then why don't Republicans assert their constitutional authority over the city? Don't they control the Congress?
Yes, I'd be all for it.
Who's against it?
Susan Collins is really vocally against it. So on questions of home rule, so for example, let's take an issue you and I care a lot about, the COVID lockdowns. I had a couple of years ago in the middle of them. DC was proposing, the DC school district was proposing throwing out of school any child that was not vaccinated. And at the time, if I remember correctly, it was something like 40% of the African-American students in DC were not vaccinated. So we're talking about literally throwing out 40% of the kids in public school. And so I had a vote on the Senate floor to say, look, they can't throw kids out of school for this. And we ended up having a big argument, and part of the argument was home rule, where there was, and Susan was the most vocal Republican. It's like, no, we have to let DC run it. And I'm like, why? Constitution gives us the power to do it. And it ended up, by the way, every single Democrat, all of them, voted in favor of the DC public schools being able to throw out 40% of the black kids from school. And I said, look, you throw a kid out of school, you got a 14, 15-year-old boy, you throw him out of school, you know what's going to happen next. He's going to join a gang, he's going to engage in crimes, he's going to engage in drugs. He could be dead within 5 years if that kid doesn't get an education. And the Democrats were more than happy to say, we don't care. Right now our religion is get the vaccine or...
Somebody asked me just now, did the Democrats want to investigate China about the pandemic? Here we go. I don't want to hear Ted Cruz right now. Select subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. I see Democrats here. I'm just saying. Nah, I know, except Robert Garcia, we don't know none of these people. They go B6. They go Maliatakis from New York. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Democrats didn't want to do that. You're right. You got it.
You see, I mean, once again, I couldn't agree with you more. But can you feel the frustration of people, including your voters, every American, at the emphasis on foreign countries and the threat we supposedly face, a lot of which is fake, obviously, over the kind of slowly unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country?
How are we housing illegals still? I thought ICE was getting rid of them. I get it. You haven't been here, so you don't know. I actually want the illegals deported. I said that multiple times on here. Just like I give them shit for sending money to Ukraine, I gave them shit for giving illegals money to stay here. Just like I gave them shit for giving them Social Security cards, or trying to, and credit cards, and Xboxes, and housing, when we have people that are actual citizens, like our veterans, shout out to them, they're living on the street. And they're about to get caught up in that wave of clean up LA for the Olympics. And they're going to be displaced. Yeah. So no, I had a problem with it. But that's a Democrat and a Republican issue, because they both watched it happen and they both signed off on it. And just because you heard Republicans say that this is not cool did not mean they weren't okay with it. Interesting how that works.
Country. The dollar spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay the retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do with, the endless support for Israel, very expensive, when people are literally buying groceries on credit in the United States. Can you feel like nothing against Ukraine or Israel?
All right, let's stop. You said the support for Israel very expensive. How much support do we give Israel?
Well, you tell me. You vote for it.
Yeah, it's about $3 billion a year is the military assistance.
Was that the only assistance?
Yeah, we just have military assistance. Israel does not have additional assistance. There's an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and it's $3 billion a year.
So what is it costing to support the bombing campaign to protect Israel right now from Iran?
So I don't know right now, but I'll tell you this. Let's go back to the touchstone on foreign policy. American interests. Our support, our military support for Israel, is massively in America's national security.
Well, what does it cost?
It benefits us enormously.
Well, before we can make independent judgments about whether or not that's true, and I'm certainly open to it, I think we need to know what it costs. So what's the annual cost of defending Israel? Do you know?
$3 billion a year.
No, that's the aid. But I mean, the cost of the weapons, for example, the cost of U.S. personnel there, the cost of moving ships to the region, which we're doing right now, the cost of moving tankers, all of that. Do we know what the cost is?
So look, the last week, I don't know, and there's some lag when the administration, under the Constitution, the commander-in-chief has control of the armed forces, and so President Trump has made some decisions that will know the cost over time, but I don't know the last week.
The cost over time. The cost over time.
I don't have visibility on that.
Cost
the
over
annual
time.
cost is $3 billion. It's a 10-year memorandum of understanding, and that's the principal driver of the cost. But let me make a point. We get massive benefits from Israel. Israel shares. The Mossad is one of the best intelligence sources on the planet. The enemies of Israel, the people who hate Israel, they all hate us. It's almost a perfect overlap.
Why? Maybe it's because you guys had something to do with the creation of Israel in 1948. Maybe that's why they don't like you. You took people's land away. I'd be pissed too. We got people on here putting up posts every day talking about the property taxes are out of line. And they're starting to fine people now so they could take away their land. But we're supposed to be outraged over that. But you don't expect another set of people to be outraged that you just took their land away from them? They didn't even have a say in it? Yeah, that would be kind of screwed up.
And so if we tried to recreate, if we're just trying to defend America,
Civil War stopped that because there was people out there that were pissed off that they gave them that money. Don't do that. I don't mind you staying here, but don't start telling lies, because there was plenty of people that were pissed off about that were in Congress and that were on the street. Don't do that.
Trying to recreate the national security benefits of our alliance with Israel, it would cost, I don't know, 30 billion, 300 billion.
So can you elaborate again?
30 billion, 300 billion. I love how we just throw numbers out.
But I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask what the benefits are.
Good.
So does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies.
Oh, we gonna
spy
cover
on us.
that. Don't worry, I got it loaded.
All of our allies spy on us.
That's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian. You don't think humans are all. Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's
What?
to pay people to spy on?
What do you mean people, as a conservative, people acting in irrational self-interest? So what about all those Aryans that be killing people? Huh? Was Timothy McVeigh in it? Never mind. Yeah, never mind. Ted Cruz don't want to talk to me on that. Never mind. Never mind.
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us. And I'm not.
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that, and
by the way,
I'm not mad at that. And you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know your attitude. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
It's guiding. They're overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
It is in America's interest to be.
Ali, who said we were supporting Israel over here? Oh, you're new, so you don't know. Okay, I'll repeat what I said when that war popped off. Prayers to the victims in this war. They got to go figure that out. I ain't picking a side. Now, you can stay and have the conversation, or you can leave. If that's not sufficient for you. Thank you so much.
Closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clear.
But I just want to stop on this point for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the President of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry, I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to. Sure, and I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. Is that? It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
Sure, I would say don't spy on us. They're going to anyway. And by the way, the Brits are, the Canadians are. Like, I don't think.
Well, I'm not for that at all. I think it's disgusting. But we don't actually pay their. You know, we're not their most meaningful sponsor. We're not paying for the operations.
So I gotta say, and this is, it's weird. We're talking about isolationists, the obsession with Israel. Why is Israel?
I don't think I'm obsessed with Israel.
Okay, but I think a lot of people are. And like the question, Israel spies on us. Well, so does every other country. Why are you mad at Israel?
I guess. Oh no. I'm hardly the one. So I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the
From
Israel.
AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. So
$215 million from individuals. $1.8 million from individuals. Theodore. Come on, Theodore. Raphael, as the case would be. Come on. Either you're going to be a chipmunk or you're going to be a Ninja Turtle. Which one, sir? Are you going to wear the green turtleneck, or are you going to wear the goddamn red rag? Which one? Let me know, so I know how to deal with you.
So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen.
But y'all are taking money from them, but y'all don't know what they do. That's basically what he's saying. They just doing things there. They doing things. I mean, it's just things.
I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
I've worked every day.
And there it is. They must be telling him you're not gonna get reelected, so you might as well just go for the jugular. He gonna start a whole podcast when he loses, and he's just gonna be sitting there shilling for Israel all day. But you're gonna have Texas regretting why you voted for him, so you could get a Democrat in that seat and try to turn Texas blue. or at least purple.
I came into Congress 13
By the way, leave it to a foreigner to do that. If you know, you know.
years ago,
Yes.
with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that.
Not the people of Texas that elected you to go there for their interest. You went there to go defend another country. Lord. But I get told I'm crazy for saying, hey, vote them all out. Let's start fresh. Fresh 435, fresh 20 or 30 senators. Let's start fresh. All right. Must be nice. He protects the border and will keep it red. How did that work when that ice storm showed up and he was on his way to the Bahamas, or he was sitting in the Bahamas sipping on a drink? Huh? By the way, William, Donnie's from Texas. She's lived there. You don't think she would know? Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. All right. Must be purple because you're letting the Muslims build that whole town over there. Must be. Y'all let Jasmine Crockett run amok. Y'all let Sheila Jackson Lee's daughter take her seat. All right.
AIPAC, a lot of times.
That motherfucker said Holman and keep it
AIPAC, I
red.
wish we were much more
Okay.
effective. Like,
Holman.
there are folks online
too?
who are in
I
the
thought they
fever
were-
swamp of terrified of AIPAC, and AIPAC.
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, no,
I'm
no.
just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people
I
who
can tell you.
Uh-huh.
is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so what do they do?
America has that.
So what do they do? Let's look up what AIPAC does. Since Ted Cruz is not going to tell us the truth. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee is a pro-Israel lobbying group that advocates its policies to the legislature and executive branches of the United States. It is one of several pro-Israel lobbying organizations in the United States and has been called one of the most influential lobbying groups in the country. Here's their statement. We stand with those who stand with Israel. It's a bipartisan pro-Israel political action committee. It is the largest pro-Israel PAC in America and contributed more resources directly to candidates than any other PAC. Operation Rising Lion. Israel's war to protect the world from a nuclear Iran. A national movement of pro-Israel Americans. We are more than 5 million pro-Israel Americans from every congressional district who are working to strengthen bipartisan support for the U.S.-Israel relationship. Lobbying for pro-Israel policies. This is on their website, by the way. Strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship, supporting security assistance to Israel, promoting peace, countering Iran's aggression and nuclear weapons quest. They must have just updated that. Combating terrorism, opposing anti-Israel discrimination. This is on their website, by the way. The Ted Cruz just told you what he just told you.
Understanding capitalism, the system.
That's wonderful.
Sitting capital role for
Prime Minister Netanyahu.
All the time.
Name one.
Okay. Let me go back and give a little history. Do you want to do a deep dive on AIPAC?
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive.
No.
I'm gonna do Here we go.
It's lobbying for a foreign government. It's not. It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
But it's literally, if you're not pro-Israel, you're literally going to get voted out. Shout out to Jamal Bowman, whatever cardboard box he's in right now. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
it wants America and Israel to be close.
Okay, Mr. Nine, I'm going to tell you what the problem is. If you're trying to sell to us America first, how is focusing on another country when you have problems here? How is that America first? America gives way too much visibility to Israel. We have visible problems here that everybody can talk about every day. I need that fixed first before you worry about what's going on in the Middle East. I don't think that's a bad policy decision. But okay.
Closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all. And if
It's
you,
not true.
No.
How much contact do you think AIPAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea. I imagine some. I think we got.
Mr. Nine, see, now I know you don't know geopolitics. You go do that, and you go with Iran. Let me help you. They're cool with Iran. Go play with them if you want. I don't think you want the end result of that. See, maybe you don't know history. America tried this before and made Iran worse. Go after the Ayatollah. I think according to you, that's just going to end well, right? Okay.
Government of Israel is often frustrated with AIPAC. Do you think
there's
AIPAC's not nearly strong enough?
Do you think there's any coordination between the government of Israel and AIPAC?
Do they talk? Sure. If you're lobbying for more U.S.-Mexico trade, would you talk to people in the U.S. and Mexico and the government? Sure. Like if.
So I'm not mad about that. There are a
Lord.
million countries that lobby Washington. I like a lot of those countries, including.
Okay, but AIPAC are Americans.
But
Not
hold
Israelis.
on. There are tons of Americans who lobby on behalf of foreign governments. I know them. I'm related to some of them. I know how it works. I'm from here. So my question is not, is it outrageous that foreign governments lobby the United States? They all do, okay, including Israel. My only question is, why don't we admit that is what's happening? You're denying it, but it's true. And why aren't they registered as a foreign?
Right. The left did it, yet he was going on True Social saying that their stuff is not compared to us. And he ready to throw bombs at them. Yeah, but that was the left. Okay.
Foreign lobby.
Because they're not.
They're not a foreign lobby.
No, they're not. And this is the.
Correct, William.
Look, it's not a
Correct. They have the right to defend themselves. You're right. With their own stuff. Yeah. Let me ask you this. If somebody attacked us outside of Israel, who gonna come help us? Who? I'm sorry, besides the Israel and UK. Tell us another country that's gonna come running to come help us.
a fever swamp. These are very reasonable questions, and you've accused me of being obsessed with Israel.
I actually haven't. I've said
And being
isolation.
What is
not
this?
At all. I find it's a very tender spot when you ask it, and I don't know why.
So, Tucker, all right, let's go back. I was first elected to the Senate in 2012. I came in.
Germany's trying to kiss ass to Russia right now for their natural gas. They're not going to screw that up. Give me another one.
And I actually saw AIPAC be badly wounded in the way.
Hey,
they never
baby.
got from it. And the second term is when Obama did the Iran nuclear
Trump
deal.
wins again.
And the Iran nuclear deal, I think, was catastrophic. And AIPAC went all in lobbying against it.
Yeah.
And
Trump's
they
policies
failed.
wins
And I was the
again.
leading
They
opponent
win
of the
again.
Iran
Oh, no, they definitely failed. Yes.
France. Boy. France.
Ford shutting down their factories?
Yeah, because they said the car production, nobody buying their cars. Miss, what are you watching?
Just a Harry Potter thing.
Oh, okay. Harry Potter. Shout out to Harry Potter. Hey, Travis, I had Taco Bell last night. Oh, we look. Right. I'm going to feel it later. But anyway, France. France. Render aid. Okay. That doesn't answer my question. I said, who going to run? I ain't talking about NATO. I said, what country? So the way I'm hearing it, y'all would accept foreign troops on our land. That's what I'm hearing. All right.
They failed, and what happened, the Obama White House told every Democrat. When I got here, there used to be real bipartisan support for Israel. That has largely disappeared. And it's the Obama nuclear deal that caused it, because the Obama White House told every Democrat, pick. You either stand with Israel, or you're a Democrat and you stand with the Obama White House. And almost every single Democrat member of Congress said, I'm a Democrat first, to hell with Israel. And then I watched as AIPAC, every one of those Democrats got reelected, and AIPAC did nothing about it. And it dramatically reduced AIPAC's influence.
I agree.
I watched it happen.
Uh-huh.
I told AIPAC, I said, look, the analogy, if the NRA was supporting a bunch of politicians that cared about the Second Amendment, and you had politicians that vote to confiscate people's guns, and the NRA turned around and raised money for the people who voted to confiscate guns, you know what? No one would ever care what they said again.
So you're making the case that
But they literally do that. These corporations literally do that every day, every election cycle.
Why did Dad say
They fund both parties because they can't lose. We've literally outlined it on this channel. We showed how Amazon gave money to both sides.
yeah? This
Home
is
Depot.
here. What? Oh wait.
They can't lose money. This fool said the entire NATO force. No, Mr. Nine. The entire NATO force would wait to find out who did it, and they go over there. They're not coming here. I need y'all to listen again. Here's the question. I said if we got bombed, what nation gonna come running and come help us? Which would mean they would have to come here. And I said besides the UK and Israel, who else?
the AIPAC is not as powerful as people say it is. And
The
that's really
UN.
I've watched that.
The UN ain't
It's
it.
all powerful and they're running everything and putting fluoride in the water. I'm not making that case at all because it's not true. I'm only trying to get to the question of what AIPAC is, and I don't think you're being straightforward about it. AIPAC is lobbying on behalf of the interests of a foreign country, and they're not registered. And you're saying, no, that's not true. You're saying that they don't coordinate with the Israeli government.
I coordinate. They talk with them. I don't know what they do. I can.
What do you mean? You're taking money from them. You don't know what they do. That's crazy. Oh my God. So you're taking money from a foreign power or a foreign influencer group and you don't know what they do? That sounds like Tenant Media, family. Shout out to Lauren Chen, wherever she at. And Liam. This is crazy.
Meaningful if a foreign government.
Hey, I talked with
Oh, Jesus Christ. Pat, did I say anybody was bombing us? I'm asking a hypothetical question. Do you know what a hypothetical question is? Jesus Christ. Obviously, we know nobody's bombing us right now, but we could be at that point. That's why I asked. Damn.
with Israel all the time.
Of course you do. But the law is, a lot of people have been prosecuted under this law.
Lance, you're dumb. I just asked you. I'm going to ask you again since you don't listen. If we got bombed, who, besides UK and Israel, who's going to send their troops over here to come help us? That's what I said. Jesus Christ.
That if you are lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, you must register. That's it. It's really simple. And I don't know why, if I'm working for Malaysia or Qatar or Belgium, and I'm working on behalf of its government's interests through a group of Americans, representing the friendship between those two nations, I have to register under the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And if I don't, I can go to jail. People have gone to jail. People I know. So I don't understand why we don't just be honest and say they're lobbying on behalf of.
No, you dumb F. No, they wouldn't. NATO's not going to show up in New York City if that's where the bomb was. No, they're not. Jesus Christ. Thank you, Alicia. When did that happen on 9/11? Where was NATO? Did NATO show up in London on 7/7? No, they didn't. You're dumb. My daughter's smarter than you. She's not a product of No Child Left Behind, like you. And she's 6. You probably can't even put a coherent sentence together.
Foreign government, they're coordinating with the government. You know that that's true.
That is not only not true, that is false.
They're not coordinating with the Israeli government.
Do you know how
You're
AIPAC
better
works?
off. Hey, Lance, you're better off getting the cartels to come help us. They're a lot closer.
For elected officials, like what they do, like what the actual mechanics is.
I get it. I mean, they go to people who are
This motherfucker said NATO.
To candidates who agree with them.
So what they'll
NATO.
do is, so in my last election, AIPAC was worse. And they'll host a fundraiser. They'll host a fundraiser in Dallas or Houston or Atlanta or New York or LA. And they'll do a fundraiser and they'll get someone who'll host it, and it's usually a business owner, lawyer, doctor, someone who'll host it. And you get typically at an AIPAC fundraiser 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 people who live in that city,
Right.
Who care about a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. And if they have 50 people, each one writes a $1,000 check, and you raise $50,000.
Yeah, I've been to an AIPAC fundraiser. I know what it looks like.
But that is not. And by the way, there's no representative of the Israeli government there. You have when you're in Dallas, you're meeting with.
False and silly conversation. I know all this.
Oh, Jesus, here we go. Now we're going to get to the show. Correct, Working Bum. They followed us into the war. Where was the war? Was the war in America or was the war in the Middle East? Just like they followed us when we went down to Rwanda.
I know all this. The question is are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government to any extent?
Okay,
It's
that's
a really
different
simple
from
question.
lobbying on behalf of.
It's a simple question. Are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government? And I'm just going to ask you that question straightforwardly. And if you say no, I think we both know that's not true.
Okay, are they shaped by? Is that?
Are they coordinating with the Israeli government?
Are they talking
to
with them?
represent
Yes.
the Israeli government?
Directing them. What are you want to talk about? FARA, the law on lobbying on behalf of someone.
Yeah.
It is I hire you and you lobby on behalf of me. I direct you. Does Israel direct AIPAC? No, they're not lobbying on behalf of them. Do they care about them? Yes, but.
But they're lobbying for pro-Israel movement in Congress and in the White House. Oh my God. What I don't understand what Ted Cruz is not getting about this. They're not a registered agent, foreign agent, and they have all this influence. And again, last year, you literally saw a bunch of YouTubers, aka influencers, get caught up because they got, what's the word we want to use? They got suckered by Russian propagandists to take money to put up videos. And the way it's looking, Lauren Chen and her husband are going to lose everything and may have Fed charges. Because among the things that they did, they didn't register as foreign agents because they took that money from whoever the hell in Russia gave them the money. But you're telling me AIPAC can skate? That doesn't make sense.
Do you think that it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics?
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody. I don't know why you'd be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda, but you seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. We're talking about foreign countries.
Hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about.
Oh my God, he's gonna talk about obsession, but you literally just said 10 minutes ago you got to Congress wanting to be the leading voice for Israeli politics. For Israel, I'm sorry. What?
You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the British. You're not talking about the French. The question: what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, like an anti-Semite.
You're asking the question. You're asking why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy? That's what you just
I'm
asked.
hardly saying that.
That's not what he said. That's not even what he said. He said, how could somebody lobbying for a foreign country have so much power and not be registered? That's what he's asking you. After he asked you, what does AIPAC do? You couldn't even explain it. He's just trying to ask questions. What is their purpose here?
This is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but of my many Jewish friends who would have.
Oh, it was Cancun. I thought it was Bahamas. My bad.
It's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying.
Ooh, squeezy feline. Ooh.
Just asking questions about the Jews. I'm asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews.
You said.
No. No. Oh my God, no. He's trying to. That was a slick move Ted Cruz tried, but I got to give Tucker credit. He caught it. This has nothing to do with Jews. We're asking about Israel. Damn. When y'all talk about the Middle East, y'all don't start breaking them down between the Shiites, the Sunnis, or the Kurds. You don't do that. You call them the country. Damn.
Ed, I'm asking.
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's easy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just
When
said, why is that not the question you're asking? You answer. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason.
I will.
Why the obsession
Wow.
with Israel?
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran, and so these are valid questions.
But you're not
just
asking about
if
Iran
I
and
can
the
finish. You asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yeah.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which
Yes.
is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period.
Okay.
Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And
Look at Tucker. Look at Tucker. Shout out to Tucker. No, we tell lies here. I ain't shouting him out. Screw him. I love this. Who want to say what I'm about to say? What do we love?
mean that. And that's low, you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions
I'll
in a
answer any
straightforward,
question you'd
rational
like.
way? You certainly have the IQ to do it.
Shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
It is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
You
that
just called me a
ran-
sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government
You
is
want to
run.
count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about
I never
AIPAC?
asked about the Jews. I have. This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two. They have nothing to do with each other. I'm talking about the influence
Israel
of
and Jews have nothing to do with each
No.
other.
All Jews are an attack on all.
AIPAC is not full of Jews. Maybe he didn't know that. I'm pretty sure the Israeli government is not full of Jews. Okay. All right.
All Jews, which I am not, nor would I ever be undertaking now. I'm not attacking anybody.
By the way, that's who Iran wants to kill, is all the Jews and all the Americans.
And I'm totally opposed to that, okay?
I thought he said he wanted. I thought he said death to Israel. I don't know. They change their mood every week.
But now, because
Except you don't want to do
specific
anything about it.
decisions need to be made.
We can talk about those decisions.
And I plan to.
Good.
But I just want to get a sense of whether you think, having described yourself as an America First person whose only criterion for judgment of foreign policy is America's national interest, to what extent you're influenced by a foreign government, which gives you a lot of money through its lobby, and you're claiming this has nothing to do with the foreign government. They're not coordinating. Yes, they're spying on us. It doesn't bother you. And I'm sort of wondering, like, what is this? This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had.
I'll tell you what, and I'll answer any question you like, but let's try
Are you going to call me an anti-Semite again or no?
let's try to ratchet down the temperature a little.
You're the one who went to motive. I'm asking honest questions.
I'm
Just asking questions. Yes, that's it. That is what I'm doing.
Let's try to ratchet down the temperature a little bit.
Well, Elsa, you might be right because Ted Cruz said earlier that it's like an injection of crack. He did say that phrase. So you might be right.
Hey, picture the house of your dreams.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
It's this great movie. It's actually a fun comedy, an Eddie Murphy movie called The Distinguished Gentleman.
He's bringing up Eddie Murphy in a political conversation. I'm intrigued now, family. He's bringing up Eddie Murphy in a political conversation. Okay. Somehow black people came into this. Somehow, some way, they shoehorned black people into this. Okay, I'm interested. Let's see where this goes.
From pure talk.
And did you ever see an Eddie Murphy movie called The Distinguished Gentleman?
No.
It's a great movie. It's actually a fun comedy about politics. And Eddie Murphy in the movie is a con man who gets elected to Congress. And he's literally...
That sounds like everybody in Congress. It's Thursday. We'll be respectful. That sounds like everybody in Congress. By the way, I love how he brought up the distinguished gentleman. He could have easily brought up the West Wing, but I forget. He's a Republican. They were Democrats, so I understand. I understand.
Literally a con man who... The congressman dies, he has the same name, and so he runs and they get elected. And there's a scene in the movie...
No, David, I'm not angry. I just find it funny that somehow, some way he shoehorned black people into a conversation where black people aren't even in. That doesn't make me angry. But, you know. I understand your only interaction was angry black people, you know, the ones that pushed you in the locker from preschool. I understand. It's okay. They took your girl. I understand. Don't project on me, sir. College was a long time ago. You should have moved on. Thank you so much. Fresh and fit is not your way out.
Movie where Eddie Murphy is a freshman member of Congress, and he's sitting down with a sleazy lobbyist. And he's asking the lobbyist, all right, what should my positions be on, I think they were talking about power plants and electrical transmission lines. And the lobbyist's like, well, what do you believe? And Eddie Murphy's comment said, I don't care, whatever gets me the most money. I'll do whatever gets me the most money. And the lobbyist says, no, pick a side. Doesn't matter what you pick. If you pick one side, we'll go shake down everyone who supports that side and they'll give you money. If you pick the other side, that's fine. We'll just go to the other side and shake down that. That's a little bit the way it works. And you often get...
Did they charge you for the eggs?
I think that was part of my thing, but they charged me for the pecans.
They charge you for pecans?
Yeah.
We in Georgia.
They charged, because I got pecans for mine and Catherine's.
We're in Georgia. The pecan waffle was the same price as the blueberry. How they charge you extra for pecans?
They charged extra, I think, for the blueberry too.
It was $5.45
For the blueberry?
for the waffle. You mean for a side they charged you?
No, they charged for the pecans, and I did the waffle and meat. And they charged
Pause.
for the pecans. They charged for the pecans.
So they charge you for the pecan.
Yeah. 65 cents.
I could have went down the street and got a whole bag.
I know.
Lord.
Leftists in the media who say, for example, if you support the Second Amendment, as you do and I do, well, you're just bought and paid for by the NRA. And that actually is backwards. I believe in the Second Amendment because I believe in the Constitution. Now, am I proud that the NRA supports me? Sure, because people who care about the Second Amendment want to support leaders who fight for it. But it gets it backward. Look, AIPAC, when I ran for the Senate, AIPAC didn't support me. I supported Israel before they supported me. I'm happy to have their support because they share my objective.
No, but you're missing it. I'm not suggesting that you're bought and paid for. I'm not saying that.
I want to go back and
take sincere.
I want to go.
I wanna make a special plea right now. Hey, somebody get me in touch with one of them pecan lobbyists. I gotta holler at them.
Back and take the transcript because you just said a minute ago, I'm slightly paraphrasing, but are you lobbying for a foreign government because they pay you a lot of money? That's basically what you said. So you are suggesting
Let me just be clear about what I think. Your view seems totally sincere.
Yes.
You take money from people who agree with you. Yeah, I believe that. I'm only
I can take
trying.
money from people who disagree with me.
Ooh. It's funny that he said that because remember yesterday that fool tried to pay me $50 to say I said, give me $50, I'll say I love America. And he said, oh, I exposed you. I was like, I wouldn't even say for free. So what exactly did you expose? You literally exposed yourself. You're one of those people that would pay somebody who's saying what you want to say. You're willing to give them money for it. So you wouldn't even know if they were being genuine or not. He just told you, I'll take money from anybody. Even if he has no screw, he'd be willing to take money from somebody that don't like him. Where's your principle, sir? He just told y'all, family, if somebody threw money in his face, disrespectfully, and it rained all over him, he would bend over, pause, and pick it up. This is who Texas voted in.
Trying to get to the question of to what extent is the U.S. government influenced by other governments? And it's a lot.
Of
It's
course.
hardly just Israel. It's hardly just Israel. I don't think Israel's the main one. There are lots of governments. China is a massive influence on the city.
And it's a huge
As
problem.
you know, I couldn't agree more.
But y'all
And
won't
there are
stop
also
them.
The UK, which is a truly sinister place, in my opinion. As a ethnic Brit, I can say. I think that's my view.
Ooh, thanks, Tucker. Ethnic Brit. I don't even know what that means, but okay. Ethnic Brit.
They forgot my waffle.
All right.
Truly sinister place, in my opinion. As a ethnic Brit, I can say. I think that's my view. Maybe you disagree.
I think they're on the wrong path. I love
Whatever,
the
without
Brits,
even getting-
but they're
Of course, Negrified Hero. Why would you bite the hand that feeds you? Come on, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell got the plug.
The waffle girl that was making the waffles, they forgot mommy's waffle.
Okay, so go with her and go get it.
No.
No? Okay.
I am not going back outside and walking over and over again.
Go get exercise.
their government.
Without even getting into that, I'm just saying I don't think Israel's the only one. But it's the only one where you're instantly called an anti-Semite for asking questions. And it's also the only government that no one will ever criticize. And I
You can
find that
criticize Israel every minute of every day. Like, the only government that people will not criticize, Rashida Tlaib tweeted out
Is there
calling
any-
Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal.
Rashida Tlaib, but no,
You said no one will criticize.
I'm talking about Republicans that I would vote for, including you. And I'm saying, whatever. I don't even like talking about Israel. What I care about, I never do, because it's not worth being called anti-Semites from AIPAC recipients. But now we are on the verge of joining a war, and I just want to be clear about why we're doing this.
Your congressmen, Tucker, and your senators don't know why they're going to war outside of making money. I want y'all to understand this. Ted Cruz, along with everybody else in Congress, did not have a problem with Trump giving the Middle East money and access to our data. They didn't have a problem with it. Now that Iran, again, is acting up, now they want to act holier than thou. Because Iran has strategic oil that we're going to need to keep the prices down. This is not about stopping some rogue regime. That's always going to be the default when they can't get something out of them. They're bad. This is all about oil. If they conquer Iran and install their puppet, gas prices go down to pre-pandemic levels. They're going to run on TV and say how this is a win and America first. And they're not going to tell you what the consequences of doing that are until it happens here or happens overseas.
All right, so, and let's get into Iran momentarily, but you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why, so let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay.
Somebody said we refuse to buy Iranian oil. Oh, Lord. Oh, man. Who is telling y'all this? Like, seriously. Huh? Give me a second. Who's telling y'all this? Okay. All right. Because we're not taking it. We're not taking the oil. They're just not taking an abundance of it, sir. But go ahead. If you believe that, tell your Republican leaders, your Democrat leaders, tell Trump, tell JD, tell them don't take no more Iranian oil, and maybe the price will stay where it is now. The national average will not spike. Go ahead. I love it because we all saw the stock market when Israel and Iran were lobbing missiles at each other and the shit tanked. We all saw it. We saw how the price of a barrel of oil spiked up. You're right. You're right. Because the U.S., us over here, we don't care about Iranian oil. You're right. Okay.
Okay, Tucker, words matter. And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel. And you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel? I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug abuse on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution.
That's not what you said. You said you fight for Israel.
And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding.
I'm the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed.
By the way, that person that wrote that, go ahead. Significantly reduced its imports. Ooh, didn't mean they outwardly stopped it.
And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of it.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government now, this says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of mine.
They still sell to us, Adam.
It's in Genesis, but so you're quoting a Bible phrase, you don't have context for it, you don't know where the Bible is, but that's like the theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker,
I'm a Christian, I want to know what you're talking about.
okay,
What next sentence?
where does my support
What
for
next
Israel come
sentence?
from? Number one,
Oh,
because
Jesus
biblically
Christ.
we're
What next
commanded to
sentence?
support Israel. But number two,
Hold on. Hold on, you're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this.
Oh,
We are
Lord.
commanded as Christians.
Oh, you want the next sentence. In the past, Iran was a major supplier, but current figures show that the U.S. imports from Iran are very limited or not existing. What next sentence? That one? Very limited. That means they're still selling it to us. It's just not enough to rate. That means if they did get rid of it altogether, the price of oil would spike up. The price of gas will spike up. Words have meaning, just like Tucker said. Thank you so much, Adam.
Support the government of Israel?
we are commanded to support Israel. And we're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what, hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This majority Christian
To
country.
define Israel, do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
So is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They are the descendants of
God's referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not, Ted. No, it's not. Oh, Lord. I love how they always confuse the Israel of the Bible with the Israel now, even though they know the Israel of now was created through a political system. Oh, Lord. By the way, Jesus was born in Palestine, not Israel.
Yes, it is. And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yes, Alicia. Yeah, he was talking about the nation. The nation of Israel that was created in 1948 by the UN that was in San Francisco at the time, the UK, through the Balfour Doctrine. Yes. Yes. And the US. Yes. Them. That was Jesus's land.
Who is a dictator? It's a
I'm not
democratic
saying he's a
country that
dictator.
elected.
He's the prime minister.
Right. But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principles.
This is silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is.
You believe that's what God was talking about in Genesis?
No. No.
But
That country's existed since when?
for thousands of years. Now there was a time.
No. Oh, God.
time when it
Never
didn't
mind.
exist and then was recreated just over 70 years ago.
Recreated. So it's not the same. You recreate something, it's not the same. I can't believe I can't believe this is who Texas. Y'all got a lot to answer for real.
I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people God's chosen.
YouTube censorship. Who's siding with the other side? Who are you talking about? Because it can't be us. It couldn't be us.
Chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know.
I don't remember the scriptural citation. But okay, I keep.
But
But yes, it's in the early part. But the point is,
All right, Tucker, you keep interrupting me before
it's just important to know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're. So you're saying as a Christian, if I believe in Jesus, I have to support the modern state of Israel.
I'm not saying that. I'm explaining for me what my motivation is.
But okay, so I'm just trying to understand. You said God tells you to support the modern state of Israel in the Bible in some place.
Craft Court, we understand you don't like Trump. Stop putting that in the chat, please. Thank you.
The Bible that you heard about, but you don't know where it is. That's your theology.
You're going back, am I a sleazy feline again? I mean,
If you accuse me of anti-Semitism again, I can say that, but I don't think you will.
Try to be a little less condescending. I'm trying to have a
Condescending,
conversation.
you're throwing this stuff out, and it's my job to figure out what you're talking about.
Pause. Number one. I said that as nice as I could. I said that as nice as I could. I just said we understand you don't like Trump. Stop putting that in the chat. Okay.
Talking about, but I don't understand.
But you're not letting me.
Okay. I'm sorry, I want to be polite.
And he went to going down on the phallus, so we already know where his mind is at. It's okay. It's still Pride Month. You got 11 more days. It's okay. Fulfill your fantasy. It's okay. It's not that hard.
That is for me a personal motivation, but I also, what I was about to say, I don't believe my personal faith, not everyone who I represent is a Christian. It's not an argument for me to give that we should do this because of my faith. And so as an elected official, I don't give that as the reason we should support Israel. That is a personal motivation for me, but I don't think it is the reason we should. The reason that I am the leading defender of Israel is because Israel is our strongest ally in the Middle East, an incredibly troubled part of the world, and supporting Israel benefits America. And the clearest...
How? You guys still haven't told us how. How? Because the way it's sounding to me, y'all trying to say that, hey, we can't handle our own problems in the Middle East. That's what you're trying to say. We need an intermediary.
illustration of that is what is happening right now. Let me just make this point, and then...
Okay.
then
I'll just ask what you mean. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
And I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now.
So let me get this right. So a nuclear Iran is more of a threat than a nuclear China, whose missiles have already been tested enough to reach these shores. Nuclear Russia, whose missiles have already been tested to reach our shores. What happened to North Korea? Hell, Russia could have snuck a nuke into Cuba. Y'all don't even, unless you know about it and ain't saying nothing, Cuba could screw up Miami inside of 5 minutes. Maybe even less. I'm not saying Cuba's a nuclear power. I'm just saying they're aligned with Russia. Russia could literally bomb Alaska in under 10 minutes. But Iran is the problem. Got it.
By trying to take out Iran's nuclear capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently, we talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah.
Oh, Lord. Saddam didn't pose a threat to the U.S. I keep forgetting that he's Canadian. I keep forgetting that. Saddam Hussein was one of the most I don't know. Iraq wasn't a problem, so you're okay. So that whole war was a mistake. You're admitting it now. But Iran is the problem. So instead of going after Iran all them years ago, you just let them do whatever they want. But they were a threat, a marketed threat.
Tola is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic because he's driven by religious fervor. When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. And I think Iran is trying to get a nuclear weapon because there is a very real possibility they would use a nuclear weapon. So you want to ask, how does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership and trying to take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America...
Adam? Ted Cruz was born in Calgary, Canada on December 22nd, 1970 to an American mother and a Cuban father. He later renounced his Canadian citizenship in 2014 as he's primarily recognized as a U.S. Senator representing Texas.
America much safer.
So the president has said repeatedly.
He earned Canadian citizenship in 1973. He didn't become a naturalized U.S. citizen until 2005. He comes from the oil industry, his parents.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. He said that like 100 times. He clearly means it. I think he will use force to effect that if he feels he has to. I think he's been really clear about that. I don't know, but it seems that way. Do you feel that? Do you think that's correct?
Whether he would use force to stop a nuclear weapon, I think he has put that option on the table.
He certainly suggests. I mean, I have literally no idea what's going to happen, but just reading his statements, he's made that really clear.
So what he has been very clear about, and I spoke with the president on Sunday, is he has been very clear to Iran that if they attack U.S. servicemen and women,
of course,
real consequences and I think very serious military.
By the way, this is a sidebar, but I just can't resist. The Prime Minister of Israel said that Iran tried to assassinate Donald Trump twice.
Yeah, I read your newsletter this morning, and
I believe that's true.
Again, I think it was sort of a word game.
What's wrong?
What is true is Iran is trying to assassinate Donald Trump.
Why you look like they threw a chair at
you? Pointed out.
No, he said that they had tried twice to kill him, and I don't know that
It's
I don't
hot?
have any evidence that's true, but I sort of wonder if that is true. Why aren't we at war with them already?
That's what's
Okay. And I read your newsletter this morning, and I thought it was playing word games to draw a political point.
How's that a word game? It's my president. And
Can I tell you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. You rightly pointed out there's no evidence that this clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, who shot the president was working for the Iranians. I don't think he was. There's no evidence of that. Although I would like to know more about who he was and what's going on. But I don't find it plausible that he's working for the Iranians. So, was that caused by the Iranians? No. But what is true, and what your newsletter didn't acknowledge, is it true or false that Iran is currently trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen to do so?
Well, that's the question, and I don't know the Butler, Pennsylvania thing. Let's just put that aside. I don't know.
So Netanyahu misspoke when he said those two assassinations were because of Iran. But what he was saying that is right is they're actively trying to murder Donald J. Trump.
Is there? Okay, so you're aware of a plot to kill Trump?
Yes, that Iran is paying for. And by the way,
when?
It has been over the last, I'd say, 18 months to 2 years.
In the United States?
In the United States, yes. They and let me point out.
Has anyone been arrested?
For the Trump attempted assassination, no. But they are also actively paying Iranian hitmen to murder Mike Pompeo when he was President Trump's first Secretary of State, the first term rather. John Bolton when John Bolton was National Security Advisor to President Trump, and a guy named Brian Hook who was Assistant Secretary of State.
Right.
They do that every time. Didn't this government admit that they get over 1,000 threats on the president's life every day? And most times they don't take it serious? Was that not an American that shot Trump? Or shot at Trump? Was that... All right.
Right.
During the Biden administration...
Hold on, can we go back to Donald Trump? Because he's the president. No, it's a big deal. What do you mean? When no one has been arrested for these assassinations attempts on Trump.
Yes.
They've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
Ooh, caught him. Caught him.
When no one has been arrested for these assassination
They have.
attempts on Trump.
They have.
Chris.
Oh,
Yes.
They've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
got him.
A whole thing of butter, kid? Mine was nice.
So, you've arrested people for doing what he did that day. But they've hired hitmen. How did he know that?
Deal. What do you mean? When no one has been arrested for these assassinations.
No, I'm mad. We're not mad at MAGA. We just laughing that MAGA can't. They're starting to fracture. This is hilarious. Because y'all let in a whole bunch of grifters and people that just said I love Trump, and you didn't vet nobody. You just took them at their word, and now they got the prominence and they're starting to ask questions, and y'all don't like the questions they're asking. We're laughing. We're not mad.
Attempts on Trump.
Yes.
They've hired hitmen. How do we know that?
All right, let me break it down. People have been arrested. So the reason I brought up Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook, who are under active assassination attempts because of their service in the first Trump administration, under the Biden.
Did they say that? I've never seen any evidence of it.
Can I give you the evidence?
Well, let's just stick with Trump.
No, because these are interrelated. So let me make a bloody point. Under the Biden administration, the State Department was spending $2 million a month providing security for Pompeo, Bolton, and Hook. And they did arrest a rape.
Sir, Plox, we're literally fractured right now. What are you talking about? Are you like going outside every day and seeing, or you're just going by what you see online? We're literally a fractured country right now. Did you not see what happened on Saturday? This whole Israel-Iran thing has people fractured on it. The supply chain is not fixed. Stuff is still going up. People are losing their homes right now. We're literally a fractured nation right now. Your man literally campaigned on fixing everything, and he's fixed barely anything.
Iranian hitman at John Bolton's apartment complex who rented, I think, the apartment next.
Plots, they're literally still discussing male and female. They're literally doing that. The Supreme Court just upheld a ban on transgenders. They're literally still talking about it.
Is that Eric Pierre?
Oh, Lord.
Next to him and were actively trying to assassinate him, and they went and arrested them. So yes, they caught Iranian hitmen. Now, it so happens Iran's not very good at it. And so they are actively trying. And in fact,
Don't worry about Trump. He's the president. If there's a plot to kill Trump by the Iranians,
okay, so you dispute that the Iranians are trying to kill Trump?
of course. I mean, that's the most important question. The Prime Minister of Israel just said there have been 2 assassination attempts against Donald Trump by the Iranians. And I think it's a very fair question, maybe you disagree, to ask, what are you talking about?
Okay, and I agree with you that he misspoke.
So there weren't those 2?
So what is going on, bro? Are we sure we're not watching a movie? He about to backtrack again? He really is a politician.
Attempts?
There were 2 attempts, but the clown in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the other guy on the golf course
So
were
what
not
were the
connected
2
to the
attempts?
Iranians. That's the part that he misspoke. But by the way, when you speak all the time, occasionally, what he said that was accurate is that Iran is actively trying to murder Donald J. Trump and has paid hitmen.
Okay, but right. Okay, that's fine.
And he was conflating it with the 2 attempts.
I understand. But I just want to pull that thread because it's so important. I voted for Donald Trump. I campaigned for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's our president. And we're on the cusp of a war. So if there's evidence that Iran paid hitmen to kill Donald Trump and is currently doing that, what are you even talking? I've never heard that before.
Okay.
Where's the evidence? Who are these people? Why haven't they been arrested? Why are we not at war with Iran?
He's asking great questions. Why aren't you informing the people? He should have asked that. Why aren't you informing the people? I think that would help his favorability rating. I think so.
It's a great question to ask.
How do you know that that's true?
We know that it's true because we have been told that by the military and our intelligence community for...
Okay, so you're on a job site doing construction, I'm guessing, with Mexicans. When you should be watching where you're going and making sure when them cinder blocks don't drop on your head, you're watching me trying to flex. You might twist your ankle. You have to be alert on the job site. Maybe you should leave. I don't want you hurt.
For the last 2 years.
We meaning who?
Congress has and the public. I mean, they had multiple testimonies. I can send you
Do we
testimony.
know the names of the people or where this happened or what they tried to do to kill Trump?
We do not. We have not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We
You
know
just said you arrested him. Did he not say that, or did I mishear? Did you say you arrested hitmen?
that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States.
Yes, and by the way, like Iran.
Whoa.
Not apprehended an Iranian hitman trying to kill him. We know that Iran is trying to do so.
In the United States.
Yeah.
So you've arrested. So you didn't arrest the guy. Well, he's not exactly a hitman if you can't prove that he's a hitman, but you arrested people in here that were actively part of a plot to take Trump out. Okay.
Yes, and by the way, like Iran.
This just seems like a huge headline, and you're acting like everyone knows this. I didn't know that.
Iran put out a whole video about murdering Trump.
But most people didn't see that video, sir. It's not like y'all put it on mainstream media. It's not like y'all put it on your X accounts and say, see, this is what they're doing. This is Iran. You're assuming people are supposed to know that. I get what this is, though. This is the after effects of what happened with the pandemic, where everybody was online searching for any information on anything. He expects that everybody's supposed to know everything, not realizing that you're still supposed to give people information and let them figure it out for themselves.
Right, but I've never heard evidence that there are hitmen in the United States. I mean, trying to kill Trump right now. We should have a nationwide dragnet on this, and we should attack Iran immediately if that's true. Don't you think?
No.
If they're trying to assassinate our president?
They have been for 2 years.
Then
They
why
are
are we at
enemies.
war with them?
Well, we are trying to.
Why don't we just nuke Tehran if they're trying to murder our president? There's nothing that you could do that would be worse for the United States than murdering Trump. And I just don't
Amen. I
understand
agree
why
with
you're
that.
not calling for the use of nuclear weapons against the Ayatollah right now. I'm serious. If you really believe they're
The
trying to
use
murder
of nuclear weapons.
whatever
That's part
it
of the
takes.
problem.
What do you mean? You don't seem to take the allegation seriously. I do. If you believe they're trying to murder Trump, we need to stop what we're doing and punish them.
Can I ask something? And I mean this sincerely. So, all right, 20 years ago, you were, I think it's fair to say, in the interventionist world. You were a
Big time.
You were a vocal defender of the Iraq War.
I was a promoter of the Iraq War.
And you now, and I just look. I think you think you were mistaken. I think you were mistaken. That's okay. Look, people change and learn, and that's part of the journey of being human. Your views have moved, though. In my view, they've gone way too far the other end. And so
I'm totally
that's
confused.
why
I'm saying, hold on, wait. This is one of the weirdest conversations I've ever had. I'm saying if it's true that Iran is trying to murder Trump, we need to move militarily against Iran immediately. That's not isolationism. That's that's a cult of violence, which I am calling for. If we believe that Iran is trying to murder our president, we need to strike Iran.
Okay, but isolationists say things like, well, then just nuke them, which is what you just said.
Okay.
Just kind of a
Because
weird.
I'm upset, because I'm taking you seriously. You don't take your own statements
I
seriously.
take my statements very seriously.
So I've asked you, where's the evidence this is?
No mentagism. It's not. His own administration is not a den of lying thieves. They are DEI. DEI.
This is true, and you said well, they're trying to assassinate Brian Hupp or something, which I'm against, by the way. I'm against supporting any American, period, no matter
So you dispute that they're trying to murder?
I'm not disputing it at all.
Bolton?
I'm not disputing
And
it
they
at all.
literally arrested the hitman with Bolton.
I don't know why that's even relevant.
And DEI stands for Donald's Envious Idiots.
Then I'm asking about the President of the United States.
Wait, it's not relevant that
It's
Iran
not
hired
relevant.
hitmen to murder cabinet members in Trump's administration. That doesn't go to
I've
how
already
credible is
said
it that they're
I'm
willing to spend money to do
totally
that.
opposed to that. It's awful. I am against killing anybody, actually, and
Okay.
especially foreign government. I'm asking about your allegation and the Prime Minister of Israel's allegation that
And
It's-
let me
that
be clear,
Iran
I'm
is trying to
emphatically
murder
for
the
killing Americans.
president.
Killing terrorists is a good thing. Killing people who are trying to murder Americans is a good thing. Because if you're America first, you want to protect America, and so killing Osama bin Laden was a fantastic
But you don't
day
really
for the
believe
world.
that they're trying to murder Trump, or
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Then why are you calling for military action against Tehran right now?
Because they're not very effective. In terms of hitmen, their hitmen are not very
He just called them a Pokemon. They're not very effective.
effective. I do think.
So they're hitmen, but not the bad kind, the efficient kind.
No,
What are you saying?
They're a weak country who is on its knees, and I think we need
Then
to.
why are we so afraid of them? Why are they the biggest threat if they're a weak country that's on its knees?
Because they're trying
I'm trying to keep track.
They're trying.
Because, Tucker, the biggest armies in the world have been defeated by a few.
Trying to develop. Be a little less snarky.
I know, you're right. That is
They're trying to develop nuclear weapons. They're close to developing nuclear weapons. And even
They're
if we
close.
have a country with a nuclear weapon. Look, I believe there is a very real.
Wait a minute, they're close, but Tulsi said they didn't have it. Trump said that they did have it. They were very close. Which is it? Either they have it, they're close, or they don't have it. Which is it?
Real possibility if the Ayatollah develops a nuclear weapon that he would detonate it either in Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles.
Oh, Lord.
And that would be utterly catastrophic. And I don't know what the chances are of that. Let me compare and contrast Iran to North Korea.
Wait, can I just ask one last question about trying to appeal
Ask
to the
it.
president? You sincerely believe, you promise, that right now the Iranian government is trying to murder our
Yes.
president?
Yes.
Sincerely believe right now?
Absolutely.
And yet you are not calling for military action against the government that's trying to murder our president. Can you explain that?
I don't think they're very effective. I do think we should, by the way, America is.
You're willing to take that risk?
I think we should protect the president and we should take out our enemies.
Well, aren't
Israel
they,
is doing that right now.
but aren't they? Why would we
And
outsource
by
it
the
to Israel
way,
if
your
they're
first
trying?
question was,
why
why are you for
Israel?
regime change? That's a pretty good example of why I'm for regime change.
Okay, so you're saying we should just go in and take out the government of Iran? Why would we outsource it to Israel if they're trying to murder a president? Okay, you sound like the isolationist.
What I'm saying on any military judgment is there needs to be a cost-benefit analysis of what are the risks versus what are the benefits. In this instance, I think it is enormously in America's interest to do what Israel is doing right now: take out Iran's senior military leadership and take out their nuclear capacity. That is benefiting America, and it is a good risk-reward. I would oppose invading Iran and putting boots on the ground to topple the government. If the risk got severe enough, I would support that, but I think the relative risk is not severe enough to justify that step at this time. What I would absolutely oppose under any circumstances is invading Iran and then saying and trying to turn them into a democracy. And part of where Iraq really went off the rails is not only did we topple someone
Why
who
are we
Iraq
back
was
to
not a
Iraq?
terrorist, bad guy, but then we tried the vision of interventionists. It actually overlaps with the vision of a lot of Democrats. Let's go promote democracy in the world.
I agree.
And it is our military's job to kill the bad guys, to defend America. It's not their job to defend international norms. It's not their job. So I have zero desire for the U.S. military to turn Iran into Switzerland. Look, would it be nice if they suddenly became Switzerland? Sure. If I could wave a magic wand, great. But I'm not going to send your kids or my kids to be in front of guns to go make that happen.
Unless Israel tells you to. I'm sorry, not Israel. AIPAC. Because, again, I read it off the website. They're in favor of going to war with Iran.
Bless you for that. I think that is the lesson that I learned from Iraq. I promoted that war.
Of course you did.
I was dumber. And I
Ah.
think you articulated the main lesson of it, which is it's hard to do that, and we're not good at it. But
But I will, and so we're agreeing on that. I will say
vehemently agreeing.
as a corollary, that doesn't mean that horrible evil dictators are okay. And going back to Reagan and the Cold War, we have lots of weapons. I am happy to highlight the brutality, the oppression, the human rights abuses of regimes, even though I don't want to invade them, because I think the bully pulpit of American leadership is really powerful. And I think dictatorships are terrified. So I've spent 13 years in the Senate. One of the things I do frequently is highlight dissidents in Iran and North Korea and China, in Venezuela. People are being tortured. Miriam Ibrahim in Sudan, who was sentenced to 100 lashes and then to be killed for the crime of being a Christian. And I repeatedly went to the Senate floor and shined a light on the government of Sudan. It was corrupt. It was evil. I practically begged Barack Obama, say her name. Ultimately,
I felt that way with the J6 prisoners.
look, yes. And
Oh, Lord.
look, there is.
Oh, Lord. Tucker, they all got pardoned, so that's moot now.
Power to speaking out, and ultimately, the international. Obama never did say her name. He would not say her name. Ultimately, there was enough international condemnation. The government of Sudan let her go, and so she was not executed. And I met her. So she had a 2-year-old son, Martin, and she gave birth to a little girl named Maya. She was in leg irons in prison waiting for the death sentence. They were not going to kill her until she gave birth. And they told her, we will not kill you if you will renounce Jesus. And she refused. And I met her. She was in D.C. speaking at a conference after she was released, obviously. And I asked her, she's a tiny woman, a small woman. I asked her, I said, when you were in the prison cell with your kids, how did you have the strength not to just give in to despair? I mean, I've never been threatened with murder unless I renounced my faith. And she just said to me with a real peacefulness, she said, Jesus was with me. And thankfully you and I have not faced that circumstance. But I do think there is a responsibility.
There's still time.
There is, and I hope we don't. And actually, I'll use another example. John McCain, who you and I disagree with on a lot of issues. I respected and admired him for his service and time as a prisoner of war. I think his policies I disagreed with vehemently and fought against them. But the man fought for America, and he was thrown in prison, and he was tortured by Vietnam. And he was given the opportunity to be released early. And he turned it down because he thought it would be dishonorable to leave before his fellow servicemen with him. And when I first got here...
There were no women there, but...
Okay, man, you're right. When I first got here, McCain hated my guts, and he actually referred to me and Rand as wacko birds. I have, up on the shelf, I have a baseball cap that a grassroots supporter gave me with a picture of Daffy Duck and Blake wacko birds, which I liked and laughed with. But when he did that, I went to the Senate floor, and I gave a speech praising John McCain. And it was the day he'd attacked me publicly. And it happened to be, it was the 40th anniversary of his release from the Hanoi Hilton. And I just talked about what a privilege it is to serve with someone who suffered for his country, who served. And I did get into where we disagreed on policy on that speech. I just said, the man is an American hero, and I'm proud to serve with him. But that was meant to be a statement also, that if you attack me, I'm going to praise you, not for things that are not praiseworthy. If I disagree with you, I will not be shy about saying it. But for things that are praiseworthy...
I remember that. It was 2013.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. I went to his cell.
Oh, wow.
I agree with you. I just want to end by asking you specifically about what's going to happen next in Iran.
And you got a whole 46 minutes left.
You don't favor the U.S. military participating in any kind of regime change. You said you don't think, and bless you for saying this, that the U.S. military should try and turn it into Belgium.
Yeah.
Thank God. But there is a third option where it turns into Syria, where it's this open wound and it causes massive migration and further destroys Europe, as Syria has.
Yeah.
And that's a huge cost, and where lots of people die, and religious minorities get murdered in Syria again.
Well, Plox, whatever Syria is doing, Trump is okay with it because he lifted the sanctions on them.
Are you worried about that?
Sure, and listen, lots of bad things can happen. But going back to what we talked about, the principle of defending America, I agree with President Trump that Iran with a nuclear weapon is an unacceptable risk to America, and we need to stop it. I agree with President Trump, and I'll make a point.
But he's not for regime change.
He's not, so he and I disagree. Look, I think he thinks it would be better. He has not said he's for it. And you know what? Look, it is consequential when the President of the United States says, I'm for regime change. So I understand why he hasn't. What he has said is he's drawn a red line and said, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and the only acceptable outcome is complete dismantlement. So they have centrifuges, they're enriching uranium right now, they're trying to develop a nuclear weapon. He said they must have complete dismantlement. I led 52 senators, Republican senators, in a letter where we said we agree with President Trump. That's the red line, complete dismantlement. I agree with President Trump. I agree with him supporting Israel, taking out Iran's military leadership, taking out their nuclear capability. And I'll point out, look, if you look at the first term, I am hard-pressed to think of a single foreign policy decision Donald Trump made the first term that I disagree with. And that's not entirely accidental.
So you were cool with him bombing Yemen his first week? I'm sorry, that wasn't the first week. He bombed Syria the first week. You were cool with that. He bombed Yemen. You were cool with that. Yemen wasn't doing nothing. You were cool with him signing that waiver. Okay.
Because I spent a lot of time the first term in the Oval Office with him. And what happened in the first term often is you would have in the administration, you had interventionists in the administration, you had isolationists. And they disagreed. They would fight within the administration. And often what it would give is an opportunity for me to come in and say, hey, there's a middle path here that President Trump agreed with frequently.
Yes, you came in when you knocked on the door and you scuttled in on your knee pads. That's what you did.
And it's worth noting, in the first term, he most assuredly was not an isolationist. Look, he took out General...
Plox, I literally said earlier, I have no stake in what's going on with the Middle East and Israel. Because we know this thing happens every 5 years. They pop off on each other. Muslims killed Christians, Christians killed Muslims. It's a religious war. They're trying to inject politics in it, and that's when it becomes murky.
Soleimani, which I emphatically agree with. And in fact, I introduced a resolution that we voted on the Senate floor commending him for taking out General Soleimani, who was the leader of the IRGC and who was responsible for killing over 600 American servicemen and women. When Trump came in, ISIS had a caliphate that had grown up under Obama that was about the size of the state of Indiana. And Trump came in and utterly decimated them. They killed the terrorists, took away their caliphate, and defeated them. And he also took out Baghdadi, the head of ISIS. I mean, those are not the actions of an isolationist. But at the same time,
I don't even know what isolationist is. It's just a slur designed to control. I mean, I've never met an isolationist. I don't even know what that means.
Okay, Rand Paul is my colleague. Rand is an isolationist.
Okay.
And Tucker, you've become one, and I don't mean it as a slur. You consistently say, you've said, actually, I want to read from your newsletter, because...
Oh, he waited an hour and 15 minutes to pull out. He went to go pull out his bars. Let's go.
If you ask what an isolationist is, your newsletter a couple of days ago, you wrote, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We will see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back, Trump said, following the strikes.
Right.
It's worth taking a step back and wondering how any of this helps the United States. We can't think of a single way. Okay, that to me is the essence of isolationism. And let me just ask you, when the Ayatollah chants death to America, I believe him. Do you not believe him? Do you think he doesn't mean it when he says death to America?
Well, I think he hates America, for sure. And I'm opposed to that.
And do you think he's willing to act on it? It's not just hate America.
He would have done it already. That's the point, Ted. He would have done it already. They haven't done it. So unless they've been spending the last, because you installed him decades ago, and he's still trying to weigh the cost-benefit analysis, or he just doesn't have the capability to do it without another country helping him. But it kind of sounds like the Ayatollah is kind of a PUSSY, because he should have done it already.
He also is leading a country and
I
trying
think
to
under
develop
certain circumstances, for sure. So the question is, do you act in a way that makes that more or less likely? And that's a tough call. It's something that you can debate. One of the ways you shut down debate is by calling people names like isolationists, pretending they're like pro-Nazi or something, or as you did, claiming I'm an anti-Semite. That's not a way to get to a solution or have a rational conversation. That's a way to make people be quiet. And I'm against that.
Okay, so if you don't like the label isolationist, how would you... Look, Rand, and I served with Rand. Rand is a friend of mine, but Rand opposes every military action in every circumstance.
Don't oppose every military. This whole thing is infantile, and you know that it is. It's a way to call people
so which
names
of Trump's
and
military actions do you support?
And make
them with them all.
And make them be
Give me
quiet.
another name. If you don't like that, I'm not trying to have you be quiet. We've been talking an hour and a half. I'm asking, if you don't like the name isolationist, how would you describe it?
I would describe myself in the same way you falsely described yourself in this conversation.
Falsely?
Yes.
What did I say falsely?
You said that the only thing that matters in a foreign policy decision is whether it helps the United States.
I didn't say the only, I said the predominant.
But that's what I understood. Okay. So let me revise what you said and apply it to myself and say the only thing that...
Mr. Nine, they've actually gotten rockets off the ground. North Korea did. It just didn't go far, but they gotten off the ground. So much so that our satellites picked it up. And they made sure to go tell everybody in the mainstream that North Korea shot a missile off and it landed in the ocean. But this is the same folk who won't tell you that Iran tried to take Trump out and they got the proof.
That matters is whether or not it serves the United States. And I feel very stung by what happened in Iraq, if I'm being honest. But possibly because, unlike you, I guess, I supported it. And I saw us get drawn into it in a way that nobody anticipated. And I saw the cost, just about $3 trillion And the cost on so many levels to the United States was just so profound, and I
clearly
felt
a
like,
mistake.
gosh, it reminds me of Kaiser Wilhelm in 1914 saying, my men will be back by the time the leaves turn. And of course, that destroyed Christian Europe. So it's like you don't really know where these things are going once the shooting starts. That's my only point. And calling people names, anti-Semite, isolationist, to get them to stop talking is not the way to serve your country. That's all I'm saying.
So I'm. It's been contentious. I
Sorry.
wish it had not, because as we started.
1 second.
Started out by saying you and I agree vehemently on this view. Is there a military action Trump has undertaken that you agree with? Because I've not heard anything.
A military, look, I would say it's really simple. I believe in self-defense. That's why I keep firearms at home. I think it's morally justified to defend yourself, your family, your property, your nation. And so to the extent that you can deter a threat through violence, violence always being the least appealing choice, violence always being, if I can finish, always being a tragedy, I think you can justify the use of violence in self-defense. That's my personal view, and that applies to me and to the country that I live in. Those are my views. That's not an isolationist view, it's not an anti-Israel view, it's a Semitic view, apologies. It is, I think, a pretty common sense view. But my problem is that lawmakers in Washington...
Mr. Nine, you said that they couldn't even get the rocket off the ground. They literally shot the missile into the air. It just didn't hit anything.
are light on detail with these things, and they speak to you entirely in moral terms. These people are bad. These people are...
I'm not speaking entirely in moral terms. I'm not interested in killing bad guys. I'm interested in killing people who are trying to kill us.
If we had...
That's different. I'm not engaged in morality.
Are you now? Because you told me that the government of Iran is presently trying to assassinate Donald Trump, and then
and that is undisputed. There's literally nobody who disputes that fact.
Then why don't you support military action right now against Iran?
We are engaged in military action right now.
Why don't you support offensive military action?
We're bombing the crap out of Israel. We're supporting them. Israel is.
Okay.
So
why shouldn't the U.S. military defend its own president? I don't understand that.
Look, and it goes back to...
Because you don't really believe it's true, that's why.
Everyone, nobody disputes it, Tucker. Did you land on the moon? What other conspiracies do you not believe? Was 9/11 an inside job? I mean, like, what?
So I've asked you the names of these people?
I don't know the names of the Iranian hitmen. I know it because the U.S. military and the intelligence agencies have testified before Congress repeatedly.
And what did they say?
That Iran is trying to murder Donald Trump and has hired hitmen. Do I know the name of the hitmen? No, I'm sorry. And I don't think we do either, because we would apprehend them if we knew their names.
Then why don't you take it seriously enough to support killing the Ayatollah in response to protect our president? But you don't. This doesn't even make any sense. And you're calling me an isolationist. If I believed that was true, I would support military action against the government of Iran.
Okay, that's interesting, because there is literally...
You can't kill our president.
Out of 535 members of Congress, I am not aware of one who disputes that Iran is trying to murder Donald J. Trump. That's not even the looniest Democrat doesn't dispute that. So I don't... You're saying if you believe what is, I think, a fact, that they are trying...
You think it's a fact?
Yes.
What is the fact exactly?
That they've hired...
in the United States?
Yes.
Americans?
Yeah, he's not in Iran, so they haven't hired hitmen.
But are they the hitmen American?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm telling you what... And by the way, I'm not the CIA. I'm not the Department of Defense. I'm telling you what they have told us.
I'm not disputing it. I'm merely saying...
We are.
That I'm not. I'm saying the logic train has a massive hole in it. If you believe that's true, then you should, by definition, support killing the people trying to kill our president. But you don't support that.
Now, Tucker,
so I'm wondering what's going on here.
Tucker, you took offense to the word isolationist, and I generally don't mean it as a pejorative. I disagree with it. But if you don't like that term, I don't know how else to describe what is a coherent foreign policy that says we're surrounded by two giant nations. By the way, isolationism has long been a school of foreign policy.
I believe in self-defense. I'm not,
okay, but
not into the slurs, the anti-Semite stuff. I just don't like that. I'm telling you what I believe.
So, but is there a single military action Trump took that you agree with? So do you agree with taking out General Soleimani?
Oh, I don't know. It turned out better than I thought.
I mean, you said at the time it would lead us to World War III.
I thought I was worried about it. I've seen that.
Well, but that proved not the case.
I was wrong, as I have been many times.
Did you agree with taking out the ISIS caliphate?
Well, if we took out the ISIS caliphate, why are they running Syria right now? And you're for that. Why is that?
What do you mean? I didn't say I'm for that.
You don't seem to have a problem with it.
I didn't say
ISIS is now running Syria. You're like, we'll see.
No, I
mean, I know why.
By the way, I know why. Push Assad toppled.
It's hilarious. It's
know
like
why
Assad's bad, but now ISIS runs Syria, but that's fine. We'll just kind of wait and see on ISIS. Not a big deal.
You know why? Hold on a second. I want to get back. You know why I don't care, and why? And you do your like trademark smirky laugh. I know why you don't care. Why don't I care?
I don't know. Why? You tell me. Because you think it's okay because they're not making angry noises or something, but by your own standards, ISIS is so immoral that they must die, but now they're running Syria, and you don't think that we should take military action against the government of Syria? Because why? They're ISIS.
What I said is, I don't know how good or bad it'll be. Look, I was pushing Assad out, he fell. He fell on his own, in part because he was heavily supported by Hezbollah, and when Israel took out the Hezbollah leadership, he lost his base of
But the
support.
current ISIS leadership, you don't think that is bad? You can't say it's terrible that ISIS runs a country?
I am concerned about it.
Concerned? Aren't you horrified?
I want to see what they do.
Well, so you got a wait-and-see attitude on ISIS now?
On the government of Syria, they are not actively, that I am aware of, trying to murder Americans. And that's a real dividing line. Are you trying to
Which is why Trump lifted their sanctions.
murder Americans or
I'm
not?
just saying it's a little weird that we waged this war against ISIS and now they're running a country in the Mediterranean. I think that people would be very, very upset about that. That you don't seem
By the
very
way,
upset about
did
that.
you agree with Trump taking out
Tammy Ackerman asked, Trump said no war on his watch, what happened? He gave money to the Middle East. Military-industrial complex went back online. He doesn't have a war on his ledger. He wants a war on his ledger.
al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS?
I'm totally opposed to ISIS, and what I care about is results, actually, and if taking out the head of ISIS ends ISIS, I guess I'm for it. But now ISIS runs Syria,
Okay,
so
but
I'm wondering
you
how
weren't
Hold on. Nikki, Ted Cruz has literally been acting like a cult member. And Tucker's not part of MAGA. Tucker literally called Trump out, and Trump called him back out. So Trump's not MAGA. Tucker's not MAGA. By the way, how can you say MAGA has a difference of ideas, yet they're actively right now on Twitter attacking each other over Israel and Iran? And it, like, literally. All right.
I mean, my point is,
But at the time, I mean, I've taken so many different positions over the years, some of which have been wrong. I really do my best to be honest and correct there and admit that I was wrong. I'm not one of these people who's like, I've always been consistent. No, my views change all the time because the facts change all the time. You're not going to get consistency with sincerity.
well, I will say this, and look, I believe you're sincere.
Yeah.
He's just throwing this shit in his
Once you figure out
face.
the right thing for America.
And I think because you believe you were mistaken, and I agree previously, I think you overcorrected.
I'm worried about turning this mess in Iran into a much larger mess. That's the concern.
And by the way, that's a reasonable word. Look,
I know it's reasonable, and I know you've been like, you're like ready to call me all these names for asking, you're just asking questions. Yes, I am. So here's my question to you. If the Ayatollah is killed in Iran, and he very
well could.
So I have just read the paper this morning that Israel tried to take him out twice, and Trump told them not to.
I have read that. I don't have independent confirmation one way.
Do you think that they should take him out?
So I actually talked about it, as you know, I do a podcast every week, Verdict with Ted Cruz, and I actually talked about it in the latest podcast. And I said, look, I've seen the reporting that says that Trump asked them not to take out the Ayatollah. And what I said in the podcast is, I think it's reasonable for them to decide not to try to take him out. What they've done is targeted just about the entire top level of the military, the people that actually conduct the war. I can see an argument that taking out both the head of state and a religious leader could make him a martyr and could cause more problems than it's worth. And by the way, if you take out the Ayatollah, I don't know if the next guy isn't just as bad. And so I am...
What happens to the country?
I don't know, but you mentioned before, I want to go back to this. You said something like, you, like most other politicians...
Maddie, they've been disagreeing a lot. There was like a point from like, when they started talking about AIPAC, that's when it just descended into chaos. Because at the beginning, they were kissing each other's asses for like the first 15 minutes. And then as soon as he brought up AIPAC, it's been contentious ever since.
Politicians are engaged in moral terms. And let me be clear, I am talking about national interest. I am talking about protecting America. So there are bad guys on planet Earth that I don't think we should take out, even though they're bad guys.
Good.
I'll call them bad guys. But I'm not willing to use U.S. military force to take them out. In this instance, what Israel is doing is taking out their capacity to build nuclear weapons. Why? Because...
Nikki, MAGA's not a party, it's an ideology.
They judge the risk is too high if they build nuclear weapons.
I understand that. I understand that. I think it's in progress. I think it'll probably be achieved, probably with U.S. military support. Who knows? But the president said he's for that.
And by the way, where the military support is most needed is Fort Allen, which is it's a bunker that's built under a mountain.
Right.
And Israel's taken out most of the rest, like the Tom site, they bombed the hell out of it. Fort Allen was deliberately built deep into a mountain so that Israel couldn't take it out. And there's an active discussion because the U.S. has bunker buster bombs. They're big enough to take out Fort Allen.
30,000 pounds.
Yeah, and Israel doesn't. So the one military piece that...
Nor the aircraft to fly the plane to.
Right.
But here's, I guess, what...
Nikki, that's actually a lie. Most Republicans are not under MAGA. Let's not do that. There's a difference between outwardly saying you're MAGA and aligning with things that Trump is doing. There's a difference. Because if you're under MAGA, nothing that he does wrong, you're going to call out. Unless it's particularly egregious. There's a bunch of Republicans that don't align with MAGA. Hell, most Republicans, if you poll in this country, are going to tell you they don't like MAGA. But all right.
What bothers me is that I said 2 weeks ago, the real goal here is regime change in Iran. It's
I don't
not.
think that's Trump's goal.
Well, it's your goal. It's Israel's goal. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm just saying it's important to be honest and not lie and not attack people for telling the truth.
Okay, so not true. Okay, so why did Marjorie Taylor Greene call Trump out a couple weeks ago? Why did she do that? And she hardline MAGA. Why did she call him out over that the AI part of the big beautiful bill? Which is what I just said. Unless it's particularly egregious, they're not going to say anything.
So I believe I've been assiduously honest in this, but words matter. You said the real goal here is regime change, and it's your goal, and I want to be clear.
But you said it was your goal.
I want to be clear because words matter. Do I support regime change, and would I like a government that doesn't hate America isn't trying to kill us in Iran? Yes, that's a good outcome. Is that the objective of these military strikes? I don't think necessarily. I don't.
Okay, Nikki, okay, maybe you don't understand this. I get it. You do understand there's no real MAGA, right? You do understand that. Most of MAGA is nothing but grifters. Dare I say most of MAGA is fake ass conservatives that were liberal. Again, the cult, you're right, cults don't disagree. MAGA is a cult, though, because they never stood for anything. It's whatever Trump said. They don't think for themselves. Real people that think for themselves are going to disagree. You watch them for years agree with everything that man said and his big voice proxies. Y'all watch them agree. Now all of a sudden we got Israel in the mix. Now all of a sudden people want to stand up and say this is wrong. No. MAGA is a cult. Because cults have infighting too. This is not disagreements. This is infighting. Hopefully that explained it. If not, we can explain it again.
Don't know if it's Israel's. It's not.
What do you mean not publicly? They're literally doing it publicly. Oh, Nikki, come on. They're literally doing this publicly. You can go on Fox News right now and you can see people that support Trump. They're literally doing stories on him right now. Literally. They're literally out there telling you that they voted for that man and now he turned his back on them. They're literally doing it. Let's not say they're not doing this publicly. Come on. Unless we're going to discredit Fox News now. Come on. Oh, Lord. Sir? Okay. Most of the country voted for him. Great. Why is most of the country still complaining? Most of the country is not MAGA. We're talking about MAGA, not the country. Jesus Christ. Never mind.
Not my objective. My
Should
objective
it
is
be
taking out
the U.S. if Israel decides we're going to decapitate the government?
Maddie, there's no coming back from this. They maybe y'all don't know. I don't know if you're on Twitter or not. They already fractured themselves on 3 issues. Candace Owens and her stances on Israel. The H-1B visa issue that happened over Christmas, which is why Vivek is persona non grata with MAGA right now. Well, technically 4, because with Trump and Elon, we saw the division there. And now this. You have 4 issues right now that completely divided them. But like I said yesterday, all Trump got to do is say, Iran is a threat, I got the proof, I'm finna go bomb them. All of them are gonna go lock in line. So you're partly right. But we have the evidence. If they do what you say, that they're gonna say it never happened. It was just a disagreement. It was just brothers and sisters fighting. Bullshit. Y'all started unfollowing people. Nikki, don't tell that lie. Do not tell that lie and say y'all didn't care about Candace. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Y'all literally propped her up. When Kanye sat there with Trump and said her name, y'all literally propped her up. Let's not do that. Don't lie. She literally went to the White House twice during his administration and held the Young Black Leadership Summit wearing a MAGA hat. Let's not do that. Don't tell me now that she crazy. Because you just reinforced my point. Y'all don't vet nobody. So you knew she was crazy, but y'all still let her talk.
Government and try to foment an uprising against it should the United States participate in that operation in any way.
Look, I have not called for killing the Ayatollah. And there is, nations in war generally refrain from attacking and killing heads of state. Now, the Ayatollah doesn't. He's trying to kill Trump. We talked about that.
But we shouldn't punish him for it.
Look, there has been a long-standing, nations in war have refrained from killing heads of state. I have not publicly called for killing the Ayatollah. What I've called for is doing whatever is necessary to stop him from getting nuclear weapons. In the first Trump term, what that meant was maximum pressure. So in the first Trump term, I spent a lot of time urging the president to withdraw the disastrous Iranian nuclear deal that Obama had. President Trump agreed with me. He did that. And then I urged him to end the oil waivers and to sanction the hell out of the country, and it ended up crippling their economy. So Iran at the time was selling 2 million barrels of oil a day. 1 million barrels, I'm sorry, 1 million barrels of oil a day. When President Trump ended the oil waivers, it cut their sales to 300,000 barrels a day.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Mr. 9. My God. We're really going to do this. Okay. Let's go with what you just said. Whatever Trump says is for the betterment of America. Why aren't these grocery prices down? He said he was going to do it. Why are these wars still going on? He said he was going to end them the first day. Where are these tariffs? Where's all this infusion of money he said was supposed to come in here? Where is this? Like, come on, my God. Just because 70, whatever the hell, million people, 70 plus million people voted for this man. They voted for this man because he sold them, like you said, an ideal. He's a salesman. And he got the people to sell it. He's got to produce now. He's not producing. I need this answered. Nikki, y'all didn't get to pick your candidate either. We're gonna really do this today. Did y'all pick Trump? No, you didn't. He didn't even debate his opponents. So before you tell me that the Democrats propped up Kamami, just realize that Trump big boyed everybody that was trying to run for POTUS, and y'all co-signed it. Unless you don't want to keep it even. And like I thought, you're not going to keep it even. How do y'all sit there and accept that that man did not get to debate his ideas and his principles? I need that explained to me. How did y'all allow that? And technically, that's not who y'all wanted, because y'all, I saw a whole bunch of people on the Republican side pick DeSantis and pick Nikki Haley. But all right.
Mommy asked me to tell you to put the password in. Thanks.
Yeah. What?
It's again and again and again.
At the end of the Trump term, the Iranian economy was in shambles.
Who is y'all, sir? Nikki, who's y'all? Because I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a liberal. I didn't pick Kamala Harris. So who's y'all?
They had massive inflation. I think the regime was teetering. I think it might have fallen. I would use economic sanctions and I would use moral suasion to try to effectuate
If you
regime
topple,
change.
okay, so you topple the regime by whatever means, what happens then? How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Well, why is it relevant whether
Well,
it's
because
90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is
Because
that
if you don't
relevant?
know anything about the country,
I didn't say I don't know anything about
okay,
them.
what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Kurdish, predominantly Shia. Okay,
No,
this
it's
is
not.
huge.
It's not. You don't know anything about Iran.
So, okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a
who
senator
says,
who's calling for
hey,
the
you're
overthrow of the
You're
government.
the one who
You don't know anything
claims
about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
They're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation.
Okay,
If you really
we are
believe that.
carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
We're not bombing them, Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
This is high
Israel.
stakes.
Got him again. We give Israel all this aid and all these weapons, so technically we are bombing them. Technically. Okay, sir. Correct. The people are supposed to pick their candidate. The Republicans didn't pick their candidate. They literally didn't. Oh my Lord. He did not go through the entire process. He did not. He sat down online doing the stupid rallies, and y'all said this is who we want. You didn't even give anybody else a chance to make a better argument. You literally didn't.
Senator, if you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
We are not bombing
Oh my God.
Israel is bombing them.
Johnny, I'm a lot more informed than you, because you couldn't even inform us that you have a last name.
Why did you do the snide
What do you mean? Because this is super high stakes stuff.
Stop using text-to-speech, because AI don't respect you.
This is a huge country that borders a lot of other important countries all over the world. Energy comes from there.
So
We
let me
don't
ask you,
want another
Tucker,
disaster. You don't want to
Tucker,
be
the Ayatollah refers to Israel as the little Satan, and America as the great
I know.
Satan. Do you believe him when he says it's the great Satan?
Of
Do
course I
you
believe
think?
him. Of course I
Do you
believe
think if the Ayatollah could murder both of us right now that he would? I do. I believe it.
Okay, I assume no good faith on the part of the Ayatollah.
Says the person who just walked in here, you're telling me I sound dumb. You haven't even said anything proper yet, except captions. But, all right. Okay.
No,
I mean, if your implication is like
it's not
I'm
good
pro
faith.
Ayatollah or something.
No, it's not good faith. It's that.
Just saying, if you're a lawmaker, you're a powerful person in Washington. This is the most powerful country.
Now, Johnny, don't insult yourself like that, especially on Juneteenth. Don't tell people that you're a low IQ individual. Don't do that.
In the world, if you're calling for toppling a government, it's incumbent on you to know something about the country and to think through the consequences of that, and you haven't, and you don't. And I'm saying that's
I
reckless.
thought you engage.
Yes, Mr. Nine, you're correct. He wrote the book on the deal, and every other person on earth read it, including these leaders, and figured out how to work, and he forgot how to do it.
In reckless rhetoric with no facts. And to be clear,
I'm not calling you to
put out
overthrow
a
the
newsletter.
government.
You
You are.
put out a newsletter.
Yes, a gay black man can support Trump. He's called Rob Smith.
That are attacking Donald Trump and calling him complicit.
Never
I can
attacked
read
Donald Trump.
Yes, you have. And by the way,
Campaigned for Donald Trump.
Okay, yes,
This is
and-
like, after anti-Semitism, this is the last refuge.
What promise did he give y'all? I want to hear this. What promise? Tell us. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Nine. Tell us the promise. Do I support Trump? No. He's the president. I don't want him to fail, but no, I don't support him. Next question.
You're an anti-Semite and you hate Trump.
okay,
I love Trump.
I will read. You put out a whole newsletter saying Trump has abandoned America first. And here's what Trump said in response. Well, considering that I'm the one that developed America first, and considering that the term wasn't
He didn't develop America first. Now you're lying. You got that from Reagan, but okay.
used until I came along, I think I'm the one who decides that. For those people who say they want peace,
No, he doesn't. Open source. He doesn't love the black community. The only reason he came for the black community is because he said something about Mexicans and they were torturing him in his comment thread. He don't like black America.
you can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. So for all of those wonderful people who don't want to do anything about Iran having a nuclear weapon, that's not peace. That is directed at you.
Man, you got me. Busted.
No, I'm just saying.
My views, look, I like Trump. I campaign for Trump. I know Trump. I talked to him last night. I'm not against Trump, and you know that.
But you're against his foreign policy.
I think that we should be very careful about entering into more foreign wars that don't help.
I noticed you didn't answer my question. I said, give me the promise that he went through. Give me the promise. Don't ask me about who was the best president in the last 20 years. Tell me the promise that he made that he kept. Go ahead.
Us when our country is dying.
When you say
our
don't
country
help
is
us,
dying.
Look, yes, focus on our country. I'm all for it. But
But you said you were for AIPAC and you were for Israel. That's what you said.
the naivete.
You don't even know how much money this costs. You don't know anything about the country whose government you want to overthrow, and you're calling me reckless.
I want to stop a lunatic who wants to murder us from getting nuclear weapons that could kill millions of Americans.
Fair.
You say, I can't see how that benefits America in any.
Well, Maddie, they're already making videos all over the line talking about how they left MAGA. They're going on Fox News and CNN and MSNBC lamenting the fact that they shouldn't have voted for Trump. And that's not what they voted for. How the businesses are going in the tank. Yeah. That's why I said the midterms are going to be fun next year. MAGA finna die on November 3rd.
Anyway, that is bizarre. And by the way, isolationism. Your foreign policy is the foreign policy of Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm a big leftist.
Yes, so.
How is your foreign policy different from Jimmy Carter's? Seriously.
Please.
But I asked that question seriously.
What are you talking about? Jimmy Carter?
So,
What century is this? I am the product.
So wait, hold on, Marcus. So you're telling me if you leave MAGA, you become a hardcore supremacist? Is that what you're saying? So MAGA keeps y'all in line. Thanks for admitting that. Who cares about the Democrat approval rating? They suck. Who cares? Jesus. Tell us about all these wins. That's what I want to know. All this winning. Who cares? Nobody likes Democrats. Who cares? Jesus. Tell us about these wins. Y'all shouldn't be paying attention to no Democrats right now. Y'all got the majority in the House and the Senate. I want to see these wins. Unless you're going to go crap on Amy Coney Barrett next again, because y'all ain't got nothing else to talk about. Go ahead.
Of the last 25 years, watching carefully, being involved in the periphery.
First off, he did nothing with the border. Stop that. Because the border's still open, number one. Number two, men's and women's sports, that was a local issue. Cut it out. That's a local and state issue. Stop it. Where is the federal ban on transgenders in sports? Let me know. Where is it? Huh?
And I see an unending string of foreign policy disasters that have impoverished and
unending string.
So unending string. They would include Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya.
No, they're not a religious movement. Like somebody said, they're an idea. They're an ideology. They're not a political party. That I would have respected y'all if y'all started your own political party after Trump lost. I would have respected it. But y'all didn't. Y'all stayed with them Republicans because you needed that easy couple $100 million grift. I understand. It's okay. We get it.
Syria. And our inability to stop the Houthis, by the way, in Yemen, which exposes us as weak, and I grieve over that. So these are failures.
He did not ban men from women's sports. No, he didn't. And the border is still open. They still have crosses. They're just not letting them into the U.S. and releasing them in the U.S. The border is still open. Jesus Christ. There's still gaps in the wall. Yes. And the states are not defying you. Jesus Christ. You listen to a bunch of politicians telling you I'm not going to help ICE and you think that means something. Oh, Lord. But then in the same breath, y'all putting up videos of ICE taking people out of the places. But all right. The border's still open. Maybe you didn't know that. The border's still open.
You helped preside over some of them as a member of the Senate.
What failures for policy?
Oh, boy.
Well, we were unable to beat Russia.
Okay, if the border's still open, how come isn't open? How come Tom Hallman hasn't been outside cheerleading that he closed the border? Show me the executive order where he said the border got to be closed. Show it to me. Go get it. Okay, Mr. Knight, go get the executive order. Give me the number. We'll go look it up. And y'all can embarrass me right now. Go get the number of the executive order where it says Trump is shutting down the southern border. Nobody getting it. Go ahead. Go get it.
In the war that you supported against Russia, you've been spending the last 3 years telling us that Vladimir Putin is evil and we're going to beat him with other people's children, and 1 million of those kids are now dead. You've never apologized for that. That's a full failure.
By the way, look, the level of number of falsehoods you lay out just in one statement are rather.
You haven't supported the war against Russia?
He said he was closing the southern border. He ain't say he was securing it. Don't tell that lie. Please don't tell that lie.
Rather stunning. So, the war against Russia was caused, which I had explained.
Now, Johnny, I told you, stop insulting yourself like that. But you don't want to listen because your low IQ says I have to keep calling myself a derogatory term. So please.
Tail by Joe Biden's weakness.
Thank you so
He
much.
supported the war. If you want to talk, we can talk Russia and Ukraine. I'm happy to talk about it.
Do you think that's been a success?
No, it's been an absolute disaster.
Okay, but you supported it. Shouldn't you apologize?
No, you should apologize. I'm not going to engage in the demanding of apologies. So I'm
like, that's my point. Is all these failures, no one ever says I'm sorry.
Or do you just throw out you
can
talk? We can talk.
Okay, I do. I want to know why. That seems like a true disaster for the United States. You have supported it.
Do you believe Joe Biden's weakness caused the war in Ukraine?
I think Joe Biden's aggression caused it.
His aggression? What aggression?
He demanded that Ukraine join NATO. How does that help the United States?
It is a terrible idea, and I have vigorously opposed Ukraine joining NATO.
Okay, so that's what caused the war.
No, it's not. Did you want to know what caused the war? Look, you do the dismissive. You're not actually.
Oh, boy. Okay. He brought up 14201, keeping men out of women's sports. Executive order. Great. You got me the number. Are men still in women's sports? Yes or no? Great. He put out an executive order. Where's the law? Ask one. Where's the law? I'm glad you went and got the number. Where's the law? And that was in February. We're in June. Where's the law? Executive order means nothing. That just puts the focus on it. Where is it? Where's the law? There you go. He said he was going to close the border. People are still getting through, by the way. Shutting down apps means nothing. They're still coming in. Is Florida secured? No. They're still coming in through Florida. figured y'all would have known that, but then again, you probably wouldn't have. That man literally campaigned on shutting the border. Now it's morphed into securing it. Got it.
You're interested in facts. You're like, yeah, okay.
Okay, tell me.
Wait a minute. RVC. So when Biden signed all them executive orders, y'all said they were worthless. Oh, but when Trump signs executive orders, they mean something. And you still want to tell me y'all not in a cult? Okay.
It seems super odd. You're absolutely right, and I'm sorry. That is a take of mine that is wrong, and I mean this with sincere
Okay.
to you. I just think it seems so obvious that sending Kamala Harris to the NATO Security Conference to say you're going to join NATO is what triggered the invasion days later.
Okay, so can I get this? Will take a few minutes to lay out because it's complicated, but I think the facts matter. I think two things caused the war in Ukraine. Number one, I think Biden's incredible weakness and the disastrous withdrawal.
And people leaving the Democratic Party. People who left the Democratic Party in 2016. What's your point?
From Afghanistan. Now, I believe we need to leave Afghanistan, but not with the incompetence that involved.
I'm spitting lies? Did he not say he was going to? Okay.
13 servicemen and women being murdered by terrorists there. The way Biden did that was disastrous, and I think our enemies looked to the commander-in-chief and said, this president is weak. And when that withdrawal was so disastrous, I said publicly at the time, the chances of Putin invading Ukraine have just risen tenfold.
Right.
But secondly, and this is critically...
Well, I agree, that was awful, the withdrawal.
And it was a major cause of our enemies...
Because I just don't know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not. The people that have been here for years watch me play his rallies to their detriment. They didn't even want to be here when I started playing them. You right. Okay. No, he didn't want to close it. He didn't want to close it. I didn't hear that. All right. I didn't want to hear that. All right. You're right. Okay.
He's all said, hey, this president is weak. And so he invited. And by the way, look, I despise war.
Cool.
And I think weakness and isolationism produces war because it invites aggression from our bad guys. It's why I agree with Ronald Reagan's peace through strength. The best way you avoid...
Wait a minute, Marcus. Are you going to tell me you ain't got no lady boys in Africa? Don't make me start pulling up videos on your gay communities over there. Don't start.
War is being strong enough that your enemies don't want to mess with you. But let's get back to Ukraine and Russia. Look, Putin didn't wake up 2 years ago and decided he wanted to invade Ukraine. He's wanted to invade Ukraine for decades. Putin has referred to the collapse of the Soviet Union as, quote, the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century. And Putin has long been explicit.
You're correct, Monotanoy, or whatever the hell your name is. Except I've actually been researching this, and I've actually listened to Trump talk. Unlike y'all just choose what you want to hear. That man literally said, I want to close the southern border. Multiple times. He probably found out you can't do it. So now it morphed into, let me just add more border agents there. What do you think building the wall meant? Oh, I know. It meant securing the border. Got it.
His desire is to reassemble the old Soviet Union and, in fact, reassemble the Russian Empire that was even bigger than that. If you want to reassemble the Soviet Union, the natural place to start is Ukraine.
Do you really believe that Putin has territorial designs
Yes.
on Eastern Europe?
Yes.
What countries?
He has said that you can go and read his... Hold on. I don't want to lose the narrative of what happened, so we can go back and do that, but I don't want to lose telling the story first. So let me...
The executive order, y'all just told me years ago. When Biden did it, they meant nothing. Now when he signs it, they mean something? Okay, great. Where is the law? The executive order is supposed to lean to go to Congress to create a law. Where's the law? I need this answer. Where's the law?
Explain this, and then if you want to go back, we can take all sorts of digressions, but just give me a couple...
James just said 0. Lord, they just had crossings last month. So how is it 0?
minutes to lay out the facts about that. He has wanted to invade Ukraine a long time. And he's done it before. In 2014, he invaded Ukraine, invaded Crimea. When Barack Obama was president, he invaded the southern portion. He did not invade the rest of the country. Why? And the reason is the principal source of revenue for Russia is oil and gas, and the natural gas pipelines run right through the country of Ukraine, and he didn't want to jeopardize his ability to get gas to Europe. So, in 2015, Putin started a project called Nord Stream 2.
Did anything happen in 2014?
Uh-huh.
In terms of what?
Wasn't there a coup in Ukraine run by...
Didn't he take Crimea?
Let me finish telling that. I told you, we'll take lots of digressions in a second. Let me finish telling the
Mr. Nine, how am I watching the wrong news? You mean him? His post? That's the wrong news. Him. I just told you. On this channel, you can go look later. I literally have streams of him doing his rallies. Literally. We don't only play clips of what he said. We play the whole thing. Because I don't want people saying when I give my opinions that I'm lying on him. This is literally what I'm doing here. But, okay, you got it.
narrative. 2015, Putin began building Nord Stream 2. Nord Stream 2 is an undersea pipeline that runs from Russia to Germany.
So if it doesn't need an executive order, why did he sign it?
The entire purpose of Nord Stream 2 is when it was completed and turned on, it would let Russia circumvent Ukraine and get its gas straight to Europe. In 2019, Nord Stream 2 was almost complete, and the conventional wisdom in Washington was this is terrible, but there's nothing we can do about it. I didn't believe that. So I drafted sanctions legislation that was targeted to stop the pipeline. My legislation passed the Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support. It passed the House, and Donald Trump signed it into law.
Why wouldn't you want Germany to have cheap energy?
Okay. James, are you sure it was zero? Do you want to do that? Because there's a difference between crossing the border and releasing people. There were 0 releases last month, but what was it? 8,725 illegal aliens crossing the southwest border between ports of entry in May 2025. You don't believe me? I figured you didn't. It's right there for you, sir. It's right there. Your 0 is catch and release. Thank you so much, sir. And my phone went off. You know, it's on a delay. Look, I help you again. You look. There's your 0. Stop conflating numbers, please. There's what I just read. Thank you.
Because it empowers Russia, and I believe in making our enemies weaker and our friends stronger.
Has blowing up Nord Stream made Germany stronger?
Not being dependent on Russia has made Germany stronger.
Do you think Germany
They're literally doing a deal with them right now. Oh, Lord.
is stronger now than well?
I think not being dependent on Russia. Germany has all sorts of problems, and many of them are domestic to their own politics. Hold on, let me finish. I'm trying to...
No, but what you're saying, it doesn't, Germany seems so much weaker now that its energy costs have spiked and the manufacturing sector is collapsing.
Because they're bringing in illegal aliens. That's why. That's why.
To that.
Let me finish. I'm focused on America's interest.
No, you're not. You're focused on Israel.
Russia's our enemy. You and I disagree on that. We can talk about that. But I want our enemies weaker. I don't want to go to war with Russia, but I want our enemies weaker.
Oh, by the way, I love how he lied about Germany and Russia, and right there. They're taking $850 million a day. That's European Union. And Germany is one of the top importers of Russian oil. Yeah. Okay. Okay. They put more sanctions on Russia, and Russia is going to make more money.
I don't want Europe dependent on Russia. I don't want Putin.
I don't know, Wallow J. Depends on how much energy I got.
So,
plus, it's finna rain.
The sanctions legislation that I authored, it passed. Putin stopped Nord Stream 2 literally the day that President Trump signed my sanctions legislation into law. He signed it.
Now, y'all just caught MAGA doing what I just said that they do. They change it. First, he just yelled at me, James, just yelled at me for saying that there were 0 border crossings last month. Now, all of a sudden, he's telling me they're going out faster than they came in. So you're telling me my point before when Trump said he wants to close the southern border was correct. And he's failing on that promise because people are still coming in. And if he had closed it like y'all thought he did, He'd be outside every day telling you, I did something that no other president in history has done. I closed the southern border.
If I remember right, at 7 p.m. on a Thursday, Putin stopped construction at 6:45 p.m. So the sanctions legislation worked.
Monotone, you better go look at what he wrote. You better go look at what he wrote. He literally said that. He said 0 crossings in May 2025. That's what James wrote. He literally said it. I literally just took a screenshot of it.
And it killed the pipeline. The pipeline laid...
He's shutting it, so it's not shut. Got it. Got it. The same man who just said last week, we need them folk in the service industry, hotel, restaurant, leisure, and farming. Then a couple days later, backtracked on the backtrack and said, now we still got to do these raids. And y'all are secure with his leadership. Got it.
Dormant for over a year. Just a hunk of metal at the bottom of the ocean.
He said, reported on Fox News. When I just showed you the information, Fox News, who's pro-Republican and who is pro-Trump, depending on the week, they're not mad at him. Thank you, James.
Joe Biden came into office. He was sworn in on January 20th, 2021. Putin resumed deep-sea construction of Nord Stream 2 4 days later, January 24th. He did so because Biden had foreshadowed weakness on this issue. That foreshadowing was accurate because several months later, Biden formally waived the sanctions on Nord Stream 2 and let Putin complete the pipeline. In January of 2022, I forced a vote on the Senate floor to reimpose sanctions on Nord Stream 2. The week of the vote, President Zelensky in Ukraine publicly called on the Senate, please pass this sanctions legislation. It is the last...
Okay, Mr. Nine, and you don't see that's a problem? Fam, I ain't got to play this no more. I ain't got to play this no more. Y'all's Mr. Nine just said it. I said earlier, MAGA never vetted anybody, which is why you have all this infighting right now, because you got a bunch of people that were on the left conspicuously start telling you that they were conservative as soon as Trump started running. All of a sudden they're conservative. And you go back in their history and they were acting like BLM activists before Trump came around. He just told us in the chat, hey, I can give you a list of people who left the left and went to the right. You don't see a problem with that. They didn't leave the left and be independent. They went all the way to the other side. And y'all don't see a problem with that. Got it. I stopped being a Democrat late 2017. I have no party affiliation. And I gave them both hell while I was a Democrat. Registered Democrat. Gave them both hell. But y'all got a problem with me saying that most of MAGA is nothing but grifters. Y'all got a problem with it. That's crazy. And y'all won't even stop to think, you know what, we got to clean this up because the midterms are coming, and if this infighting keeps going on simple issues like this, when the complex issues come in, well, I'm sorry, let's reverse that, because Israel-Iran is complex. We're infighting on complex issues. We have to get our people still in these seats or get in these seats, and we're infighting. Let me help y'all. Republicans and Democrats are planning right now to destroy y'all November 3rd. Maybe y'all don't know this. You might have missed it. Oh, so because I'm independent, I don't vote. Well, I actually voted in the last election, and I voted in 2022, and I voted in 2020, and 2018, and 2016, and 2014, and 2012, and 2010, and 2008, and 2006, and 2004, my first year voting. So once again, I need you to shut up, James, because you've already shown us that you're not smart, and you are an emotional voter. I understand. You need an idol because your daddy wasn't there. I know this past Sunday was tough for you. I understand. I get it. You're writing acronyms. I get it. Well, if you don't believe this excrement, it came out of your body, so you might have to go to the doctor and have them look at that.
Best hope of stopping Russia from...
I don't want to hear this muff no more. Who cares? No, I didn't serve. So what's your point? Oh, guess what? I'm not supposed to vote now. Now you're supposed to sound like Vivek. I gotta go serve. No, I didn't serve. Go ahead. I'm sure there's a lot of people left in this chat that didn't serve. But go ahead. Tell me. Go ahead. No, I don't serve pussy. I get pussy. I am served pussy. Are you served pussy? Or do you have to beg for it? Because I don't think you served either. I think you had stolen valor. I actually didn't. I actually voted, Marcus, in 2020. I actually voted for Trump. I've actually voted for Republicans. Like I did in 2022. I voted for Brian Kemp in the state of Georgia. I look at your platform. I don't look at your personality. If your agenda can get me where I need to go, I will vote for you. If not, I'm not going to vote for you. I didn't vote for nobody on that presidential line. I wrote a candidate in. And I voted for a Republican to represent me in Congress because I don't like the Democrat down here. So go ahead, tell me again how I only voted left. And why should I be listening to somebody who's in Africa about voting? You fuckers watched Tinubu get in. And he's selling out Nigeria. You were just complaining earlier about Ramaphosa being in BRICS. I think you should be quiet. But anyway, I gotta go pick up my car from the shop and go have the rest of my day free away from this crap. Because watching this was disheartening to say the least. This is who a lot of people vote for. People like this, they don't have any standards. They're only a personality because they were on TV. They don't want to save the country. They only want to be celebrities. Are you sure that I'm racist against my own people when I've had black people on here promoting their businesses? But you're right, I'm racist against my own people. I don't even know who my people are. Who are my people? I literally spent 3 hours telling you my points. If you can't understand it, that's on you. You've just figured out what an independent voter is. You don't know how we're gonna move. That's why you need to sell us. See how that works? Sir, hey, who want to tell open source who I look at first before I go to any other news network? Who want to do it for him one time since he don't know? You'd be surprised how much I use Fox News than I use over CNN. You'd be surprised. What do you mean we don't matter? Oh boy. Marcus, you're in Africa. We know your independent voices don't matter because you don't prop them up. Let me help you with American politics. The independent voter is the most valuable voting bloc in this country if you think about it as a whole. those are the ones the candidates try to go after the most. They already lock up their bases. They go after the independent voter. Maybe you don't know how this works. I don't only look at AI, but I did show articles, but okay. All right. All right. Go stand. I don't even know what that means. Okay. I think your African dialect is starting to show it. We don't need the rest of it. So we're gonna let you ride out. Plus, considering you're in Africa, it's about your bedtime anyway. I'm helping you out. Mr. Nine, how is the border closed if they were able to get in? Oh my God, I gotta go. Oh my God, he said the border's closed, but 8,000 people got through, but the border's closed. Oh Lord, baby, you slow. It was a great conversation, y'all. I ain't even hate. I like diversity of thought. That's a new one. I never heard of that. The border's closed, but people got through. And y'all voted for that. All right. We cool with it. Anyway, y'all, I'm going to go get my car. These socks suck. Nike socks are terrible. Why are they so tight? Wait, now he's working to close it, but y'all told me he closed it. Y'all can't keep backtracking. Come on. Somebody tells me he had no border crossings. I look it up. 8,000 people crossing. Now you're telling me that he closed it because 8,000 people got through. Now he's working to close it. So which one is it? So it's not closed. Okay, Mr. Nine, they still have to, they're talking for the president. So you're telling me the press secretary and the secretary of state are lying? You voted for administration to lie to you again. Peach would, because the reason why we can't have the same border policies as everybody else is because they make money off the border. That's why. They make money off illegal immigration. They're making money. Money begets everything. Money over principles. Yeah. Who makes money? Trump literally told y'all who makes the money. The leisure industry, the hotels, the restaurants, the farmers. Anybody that uses illegal immigration or don't have people on actual citizen or green card papers, they make money off of it because they could charge them cheaper. They could charge them a cheaper rate to go do the same work that you and I are going to demand equitable pay for. You've had people literally say, I will go in them fields for $16, $17 an hour and go pick that fruit. They won't go look at them. They'll go call up Trump and be like, we need our $3 workers back. And he relented. Well, Peachwood dealers have turned in their people. They've literally done it. Mr. 9, now y'all are backtracking again. You told me it was closed. Now you're telling me, never mind. I gotta go, fam. The sun's coming out. I need to get my melanin boost. So y'all enjoy the rest of your day. If you celebrate Juneteenth, be safe out there. Again, my ribs are better than yours. That's crazy. I talked about East Palestine the other day, and now, well, there you go. I went in on Ohio the other day, and look, the Fed is going to do something. Ain't that something? Feckless. Anyway, hopefully y'all learned something. If you did, I done my job. If not, I'll try to be better next time. I'll see y'all when I see y'all, whenever the hell that is. Y'all can subscribe if you're not subscribed. That'd be cool. You can like it. That's fine. Great conversations. Anyway, y'all. Okay, they get picked by the box. Great. Who cares? They're still getting paid low wages. But he wants to keep them here. And you got people out of work that just want a livable wage. And they said no. That's y'all's president. Anyway, y'all take care, stay safe, and you know what to do when the agents of chaos come to mess up your existence.